Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm La Obaga. The death toll of the Narok-Bomet Highway, Narok County accident has risen to 7 after 2 succumbed to their injuries while undergoing treatment at the Narok Referral Hospital. 24 others who were injured after a school bus and a matatu collided in the Olonini area are still receiving treatment. Police said the bus from Mesa Bisabi Secondary School was heading from Narok to Bomet, while the Narok Line Services matatu was driving in the opposite direction when the accident occurred. It was raining heavily, but the bus driver was reportedly overtaking carelessly, leading to the collision with the oncoming matatu. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has criticized President William Ruto's leadership style, which he describes as a one-man show, and believes is bad for the nation. Speaking on a local TV station, Gachagua accused his former boss of sidelining cabinet secretaries and other leaders, claiming the president makes decisions unilaterally without input or criticism. According to Gachagua, this leadership style has rendered the cabinet powerless, describing the ministers as mere flower girls who only append their signatures but hold no decision-making authority.
Betrayal in this community is a taboo. It is an abomination, and it's one act against this community that is never forgiven. We as a region, we are saying we have been humiliated, we have been ashamed, our dignity has been defiled, our pride has been deflated, lakini tutajipanga. Within a short time we will claim back our pride and dignity as a people.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has once again said he's on the path to bring about reforms in Kenya despite strong opposition from some certain individuals. Speaking in Taita Taveta County, Ruto said he won't be threatened by the criticism against his administration, neither will he waste time responding to his opponents.
I sympathize with the naysayers. I sympathize with the negative people. Wale katika mipango yao, katika dhamira zao, wanataka nchi yetu ianguke. Nchi ya Kenya haiwezi kuanguka. Nchi ya Kenya haiwezi kudumishwa, haiwezi kuzimwa. Hiyo ndoto itafaulu na nchi yetu itafaulu.
In June this year, President Ruto stressed his commitment to transform the country despite the obstacle he's facing. Also, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has defended the steps taken by the Kenya Kwanza government. Speaking at a religious service in Lodo, Turkana County, Kindiki said the nation's economy has begun to recover after suffering a very difficult period that was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic 4 years ago.
Mheshimiwa Rais amechukua usukani wa nchi miaka miwili imepita. Kumekuwa na mambo mengi ya kiuchumi ambayo yalisababishwa na sehemu na masuala yetu, na sana sana masuala ya ambayo ni nje ya nchi, masuala ya kutoka nje ya nchi. Kulikuwa na kufungwa kwa uchumi kwa karibu miaka miwili kwa sababu ya ugonjwa wa COVID. Na ile kufungwa kwa 2020-2021 mpaka almost 2022, when the economy was shut down completely, we were locked up in our homes for more than a year, almost 2 years. The consequences of economic inactivity for almost 2 years.
Furthermore, Kindiki said the government will continue to prioritize youth employment.
Mimi tunawaomba tuwe tuna subira tu kidogo. Kazi hii mashida yote haiwezi isha na siku moja. Hata hii maneno ya usalama hatukumaliza na siku moja. Ilienda ikipungua, hata sasa sio ati imeisha kabisa. Kwa hivyo hata mambo ya kutafutia vijana kazi, we are trying our best, and since the economy has stabilized, we now want to improve household incomes and create jobs to empower youth at household level.
That's the Newswire. I'm La Obaga.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk that midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, Kenya. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, the rest of planet Earth. Traffic in Nairobi at this hour tends to be consistent. It isn't there. Meaning, there are few cars on the road, but there's nothing to be alarmed about. This spot along Mombasa Road, where there's usually a proper clog up, hasn't started clogging up yet because there aren't very many vehicles. Now, the usual suspects, whether you are talking about Thika Superhighway, you are talking about Eastern Bypass, whether you are talking about Kiambu Road, whether you are talking about Jogo Road, whether you're talking about Landis Road, choose the road. There isn't much traffic. But this conversation is going to change within the hour, and there will be traffic. Today is Monday. Yes, people are beginning to wind down as they consider the holiday seasons, and people take holiday season seriously. We will be here to tell you more about the traffic. But on the other hand, if you do come across something untoward on the road, don't hesitate to call us and to let us know. So drive carefully, even though there isn't much traffic.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Morning, and thank you for listening to The Situation Room. This is SpiceFM. My name is Dennis Asseto. Eric Latiff is away. He is in Israel pretty much, and says that he's gone there to welcome baby Jesus in Bethlehem. We shall be touching base with him a little bit later as he just brings us up to speed on what is happening in Israel. In studio, I'm with C.T. Muga. C.T., good morning. How was your weekend?
Okay, you asked me two questions.
Mm-hmm. I start with good morning.
Morning, Eric. Sorry. Good morning, Dennis.
Morning, City. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah.
How was my weekend?
Yes.
Splendid.
Splendid.
I actually was out of town.
Kisumu.
No, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I know I'm a Lu and all that, but when must I go to Kisumu? This country is huge. How you think the only Luas in this country? I went to a place called Kitale.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Kitale is Trans Nzoia?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That place is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Caught up with some old friends. You see, when I say old friends in my case, it's not pun intended, they're actually old.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm old, then definitely then they're my friends. And if perchance I went to school with them, they're also ancient like myself. So I met with very many people I knew. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I had a nephew who decided that he wants to make an honorable woman of a certain young lady. So I am among the many witnesses who went to ensure that, as they say, the deed was done.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and how was the culture there? Because that is called Koito in.
Yes, it is. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's interesting. I always like the banter that takes place when the so-called negotiations are taking place, and people say this, and they don't mean that, and then you respond and say this. It's good. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl's parents and the side of they are lovely people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying my side is not lovely. We're also very lovely people. but those people also.
Two lovely people met. Yeah. Also, Ndu Okoh is not feeling well. She's still under the weather. We wish her quick recovery. Hopefully, we shall be seeing her here within the week, probably tomorrow. And but also in studio have the Janet Muga. Janet, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, hi Dennis. How are you?
Nice.
I'm really enjoying that. I could sit back and just listen more about the cultural interactions and observations.
Yeah.
I'm a happy viewer on this. Very happy to be here today.
Yeah, Janet Muga will be our guest host today as we converse through our various conversations today. And Janet, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? What have I not? I like to say I keep becoming and evolving. So my background was in the studio.
Yeah.
So this is a very surreal experience. And then I just kind of continued to talk about issues online. I later realized it's called advocacy. I had no idea. Started a foundation that deals with menstrual justice, and, SRH and teen pregnancy. Influencer, the jury is still out on whether that's something that I do, but occasionally I do. I'm a content creator. I do a weekly social issues commentary show. It's official with Janet Muga, where I just talk about the conversations that matter right now. I'm a mom, global moderator, and MC. And I think this year I really became a full-on human rights activist. I think I've always been one, but I think I had too much, maybe to some extent, proximity to power and privilege, which can make you a bit cozy and comfy. I'm forever changed. So I am all those things. I call myself an expressionist, and then those are the different ways that I express myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to have you here, Janet. And on the show today, we shall be having different conversations, including in the real estate. We shall be having Victor Ndegwa, customer relations lead, Val Real Estate, and Susan Njoka, who is the indirect sales manager, Val Real Estate. They will be joining us at 7 a.m. And Patrick Kanalo, who is the chief officer, urban development and planning in Nairobi City County, and we shall be having discussions to deal with protecting construction developers, the challenges and the role of key regulators. This is key and important, as we shall be canvassing why Nairobi is the way it is, what are some of the plans that are going around, including the traffic along Mombasa Road and other roads, also just rehabilitating and making sure that Nairobi looks beautiful. And also we shall be having a conversation around power, city, electricity bills and all that, and we shall be having engineer Isaac M. Ndereva. Now, Isaac Ndereva is an interesting individual. The other day he had this paper sent to Parliament with regard to electricity bills and all that, and we shall be having a conversation around investigations into the high cost of electricity in the country. Now, Isaac Ndereva is Executive Director, Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya, and Electricity Billing Analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa. Those are some of the conversations that we shall be having in the course of the show today. But City, now, what is the proverb of the day today?
Yes, this week we will be in the Republic of Angola. Yeah, and some of the things you said, you do, the things you are, the things you're becoming. I'm going to be asking you to explain a little bit because it was nice to listen to. I'm not sure I understand all of it. But Asha is nodding here. Now he's going to agree with you that even him, he didn't quite understand everything. Asha, you can agree with me.
City, I like your heart. Please continue.
Angola, in terms of area and population, is the 7th largest country in Africa. It's called a Lusophone country. Lusophone countries are countries that have been colonized by the Portuguese. And it is the 2nd largest Lusophone country. Can you guess the largest Lusophone country on earth?
Portugal?
The question is open to the public. So, no, Portugal didn't colonize itself, Chief.
And the other one, I know Mozambique. I know you said in the world, but in Africa, is that the second largest?
No, I'm looking world. This guy is second largest in the world. Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's huge. When I say it, you'll say, of course. So let me say it so that you can say, of course. Brazil.
Of course.
Yes. Well, Brazil is massive. Okay. Now, this particular proverb, I chose this one first because I liked it. Here I'm being biased, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that I'm the one who pronounced these proverbs, so I can actually choose. A real journey begins in old age.
What do you make of it?
I feel like I want to say I agree, but I also realize I should I should say what I understand about it. I feel like it's self-explanatory. I could be overconfident about it, and City's like, I like the way you've decided you're aware. But even as I grow older, I feel like that's when you really come into yourself. That's when you see the world differently. That's when the journey begins, because it's no longer a dress rehearsal. It is life. It is the journey. I could be wrong, but that's what I understand about it, is it really begins as you get older.
I really want to ask City to interpret his own proverb.
That's why I'm saying I've maybe massacred it.
But you can ask. I mean, you're the guy on the chair, you can ask.
City, does it begin at old age?
If you look at life as a continuum, every new day is a beginning. Now, what old age comes with is experience.
Yeah.
Now, as to whether that experience affords you critical and valuable learning is a completely different matter, but it does afford you, because you will have experienced many things over a period of time. And it is hoped that the experiences will broaden your understanding of things. It is hoped. Yes, so.
Yeah, and you who is listening as well, you can actually talk to us on our social media pages as well on what you think about the proverb of the day. But before that, let's look at the weather.
Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Tendawili, iko jamaa moja alifika Disemba. Sasa hiyo Disemba takisema takula mbuzi, sasa na kuku, sasa na nini nyingine, na samaki, sivyo? Na nyoyo, sivyo? Huyu mtu ni nani? Ni wewe. Kula hiyo yote, lakini ujue hii mwaka inakuja mimi naenda AU. Sema AU. Sema AU. Sema Addis Ababa. Tupatane Addis Ababa.
This is Eric Latiff. Happy holidays. See you next year.
And so for your weather forecast today, let's take a look at Kakamega County. We're going to experience highs of 30, lows of about 15 degrees. That's pretty warm for the highs. Nyeri town, we have 26 degrees. Those are the highs and lows of 13. Moving to Nakuru, similar, highs of 27 and lows of 13. Johannesburg, South Africa, highs of 28 degrees, lows of 18. We have the United Kingdom, 12. Highs of 12, lows of 8. I am not a cold weather person, so I'm just cringing reading that. We have China as well. Let's see where else. We have Addis Ababa, if I'm going back to the African continent, highs of 22, lows of 9. Paris, France, highs of 11 and lows of 7.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
And welcome back. Now we continue with the conversation today, but even while at it, we just want to know who it is that we are saying hi to. Good morning. If we can just get into those who have tuned in. Janet, Kenyans pretty much are tuned in this morning and trying to get to understand who is there. But as we get ready to get there, now the proverb of the day today talks about matters to do with city.
I mean, Dennis, I'm going to keep calling you Eric.
It's okay, city.
Until around the third hour. Yes. I know I'm synonymous with age. I understand all that.
Yeah.
So don't hesitate to keep referring to age. When you mean to say age, I know you'll be saying city. So I understand that.
City, it's allowed, Bana. It's allowed, Bana.
Okay.
It's allowed. It's also to do. But that notwithstanding, city, a lot has happened during the week, just from Jamhuri Day the other day, and a lot has been said with regard to the president's statement yesterday. Former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka as well, just talking about the president's speech, and as well just asking the president to be a listening and a president who's listening to what the people have to say. As we get into that conversation now, the paper today as well is looking at various matters as we talk, and we continue to look at what the papers are saying. If we could just get into that, there we go. Janet, if you could just tell us who is listening to us as well.
Who's listening? We have Michael Olandi. Good morning, Kenya. What is the truthful man saying? I can only guess who that is for CT. Let me see. We also have Jacqueline. I'm trying to see. Oh, somebody here is listening in from Latvia. Thank you for tuning in from Latvia. Some really kind comments coming in nice and early. And I don't know if I should read this one. I like the way I'm... Go ahead. Organizers of Grammy Awards says they did not receive money from foreign governments, and it will be held on the 2nd of February 2025 in Los Angeles, USA. That triggered me. I saw it earlier today as well. And if I can go a little bit further, it's, I think yesterday I put out a video where I said pay attention, and I think we really need to pay attention to if something comes out that it's not honest and it involves taxpayers' money, then it's about paying attention to those little subtleties and asking the bigger question of, okay, then where was that going? Yeah. What was that set aside for? But other than that, we have Robert Mbogo from Mombasa, and we have also one Mike from Baltimore saying, good week, fam. So those are just some of the comments. There's tons of others. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and leaving some incredible comments. The last one I have to say, just because it's for me, and I can just feel nice about myself. The Kikombe, Janet's voice and cadence, and then he puts a love heart. So I'm putting one right back at you. Thank you.
So pretty much. And to everyone else who's equally are listening and also watching from around the world, be sure to talk to us on our social media platforms, as we shall be reading some of your views, your contribution to the show as well. But I want us to get into the newspaper city this morning. What do we have on this Standard?
Standard newspaper. But you're going to ask me about China Daily. Okay. Why don't we let Janet
go?
Wow.
Look at that.
I was looking at this earlier. I'll just probably go to the main one that catches my eye. Ruto new strategy hurts middle class. He's pictured there, the president, with Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi and Drusilla Jumwa, whose house they say was connected to electricity in Taita, Taveta County. But I think the reason behind this headline is that it says President Ruto's shift to pro-poor agenda raises questions amid economic strain on Kenya's middle class. So whether it's new taxes, ballooning cost of living, many middle-income earners feel sidelined. Not a headline we thought we'd see for a long time to come, I think. Questions over SHA recruitment. That is probably going to go on for a while. We have a little bit of some sports news. I know there was a big match yesterday. If I can just very quickly proceed to the second page where it talks about uncertainty among ex-NHIF staff as SHA board picks top managers. An ongoing, pretty critical conversation that, again, hopefully will not be sidelined or set aside for too long, because again, I feel like these are ballooning issues which people are speaking about and crying about. But at the same time, it needs to get to a point where there's really solid conversations around them, as opposed to what seems to be more sort of like gaslighting and saying, chill, we know what we're doing, give it some time. So I can see there being some kind of groundswell of resistance that, if not addressed sooner rather than later, will turn into something else. Have I skipped this one as well? Former CS Jumwa walks a tightrope between state job and return to politics. That's on page 9. And I was reading that and found it interesting because it talks about her having been, in a sense, promised another job after the first reshuffle and her trying to decide, which one to go between. So that's kind of what I saw. And finally, the mandate. This is on page 12. Opinion. Raila never betrayed Gen Zs. He saved Kenya at a critical moment. And I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty polarizing article for many. But he does go into why, Kidi Mwaga, he goes into why he says that. So that was interesting. Some really good opinion pieces and also some really good remarks and reactions from the Kenyan public. From the web, Ruto's new tax laws were passed quietly, and we have various reactions. We have somebody saying something is very wrong. We have Wesley saying the list of those who passed the bill should be brought to the public's attention, that kind of thing. So I think what I'm enjoying right now is a lot of the public reaction, because I think that should be centered around a lot of the issues that we see.
All right. City, you have the China Daily.
I do have the China Daily, but I also have the Star.
Yeah, because what does the Star say before we get to China Daily?
Right. You know, let me...
I like the size of that paper.
I also love the size of the paper. This is the sort of paper that when you read, you keep the rest of the world out.
Yeah. Those are the papers you read while in the metro. But yeah,
serious future uncertain amid power struggles. Okay? International region stakeholders vie for control in strife-torn nation. The Middle East and the regions around it clearly are strife-stricken. That is for sure. And the problem with these things, they tend to cross borders. And it's like the wind. It starts here, and before you know it, it's in another place. And sometimes one could argue that, an element of foreboding, but these are winds of change. Not necessarily change that some people had hoped for, but change nonetheless. Shifting from world's factory to brand powerhouse. Who are we talking about? We're talking about China. That's the headline in China Daily. Yoon impeached but final court decisions to take days. Okay? Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Parliament of the Republic of Korea impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol on Saturday over Saturday. So this thing was working until Friday, Saturday. Okay? Okay? Over his shocking and short-lived marital law decree sparking jubilation among supporters of the action. But the decision now needs endorsement from the country's constitutional court, which analysts said indicates the political uncertainty of the party. Right. This country is notorious for jailing former presidents.
Yeah.
Absolutely notorious.
Back in Hay.
Yes. Villagers in shock after top Politico left them with fake notes. This is a story, a headline in the Star. Okay, then inside the battle to control IEBC, Mudavadi has blamed Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. What has he blamed him for? Well, you'll know more about that when you read. Better days ahead, Kindiki tells Kenyans.
Better days ahead.
Right. There's something he knows which the rest of us don't. So is this where we take him at his word?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Fine. Security agencies, 1 billion emergency payout questioned. This is now the Auditor General saying, this money. We explain a little more. Eat healthy, exercise, pray, advice from judge who changed her habits. Let me read in that order. Eat healthy. But you need food first before you can eat healthy. Okay, exercise, that you can do, just walk around.
Yeah.
And then pray. That one is free. You can pray when you're doing all manner of things.
Yeah.
Bang in the middle of the paper, Raila heads to South Africa as he steps up his AUC bid. Raila said that he would be there would be a fair representation of the continent to the Security Council. He was arguing during the debate that Africa we need to be given a permanent position.
Actually, 2 seats, yeah.
Yes, where we can also behave like China and America and Russia and tell them.
Says we need 2 seats with veto powers so that they can have these discussions at that table when it comes to matters to do with security.
On an equal footing.
Equal footing, yeah. Anyway, those are what we have on the dailies. But now let's take a traffic break. City, how are the roads looking like?
Well, at this particular hour, the roads haven't changed that much. But the good thing is that it's daybreak.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This festive season may not be the happiest moment of your life, but there's always something to celebrate, something called life. Where hope has died, every new year brings with it new hope, new beginnings, and a chance to do everything that you hadn't done before in the hope that it will turn better. Rejoice in the reality of your life. Rejoice in your health. Rejoice in your family. Rejoice in simply being where you are at this point in time. And rejoice in having the ability to have hope as you look into the future. At this particular hour, not much has changed really. Traffic slowly getting its groove. Really slowly getting to a point where you can actually see more and more vehicles on the road. But as we move towards the end of this week and next, there'll be fewer and fewer vehicles within Nairobi, but there'll be more and more vehicles heading out of Nairobi. It's what people tend to do. You see this on weekends, but now as Christmas nears, we are going to see more and more of it. So let's look at Wangari Maathai Road. Not much traffic over there. We're looking at Thika Road. Well, Thika Road feeds into Wangari Maathai Road. And if you're looking at Pangani, not much is also happening on Pangani around that particular area. And then let's move along and look at Waiyaki Way. Not very much happening on Waiyaki Way. Not much at all. Not much meaning there are few cars on the road. When there's an intersection, you'll find, for instance, vehicles sort of like congregating around near a roundabout or near some traffic lights. But traffic will begin in the next hour. Noticeable traffic and perhaps a clog up in certain areas. Mombasa Road is clear. If you are looking at Landis Road, it is clear. If you are looking at no, this one is not clear. If you are looking at Haile Selassie, there's something they're building there. Same sort of thing they're building on Mombasa Road, and that caused a bit of a snarl up because a whole section of the road has been dug up and they're still building. When it rains, it's actually a huge pond. Anyway, drive safely even as more and more traffic comes onto our roads, and have a lovely day.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. In studio with me is CT Muga, and our guest host is Janet Mbugua. And we were just going through the papers earlier, but before we get to that, now Taifa Leo says mjadala wampa bunga points. Now they say maoni yanaendelea kutolewa kuhusu nani alishinda mjadala kati ya mwaniaji wa Kenya, Djibouti na Madagascar. Raila alishindana na mpinzani wake mkuu Mahmoud Yusuf wa Djibouti na Richard Randriamandrato wa Madagascar. That is the headline on Taifa Leo. Now, before we went on that break, now we were just looking at the dailies. Now, Janet, which story here do you want us to discuss?
I mean, there's two, which I know is not the question you've asked. One of the features on how innovation is rolling back transmission, rolling back HIV transmission from mother to child. I find that, so that's the feature before we go to the one which is more political and front page. Okay. But I'm always very keen and passionate about these kind of social impact issues. It's also talking about AI integration with national health records. So this integration of artificial intelligence in access to healthcare and information. I have to say, I'm one of those people who was apprehensive when it came to AI. I think many were. So I've had to really culture myself into understanding the difference that it can continue to make. I'm obviously not going to go too much into it, but this story for me was important because, you know, there's a mother here saying, when nurses found out I was HIV positive, some refused to touch me. They even stopped assisting me because she talks about the fact that she was born HIV negative, but unfortunately ended up having HIV. And now they're talking about the empathy and the treatment that is going into treating HIV, which I think is so critical. It's also, I guess, unfortunate and interesting that on the other hand, I think on World AIDS Day, we heard that the infections among adolescent girls is some of the highest it's been in a really long time. So we're really grappling with progress and, a lot of things kind of going back to where they were with a lot of health issues. Like I said, I talk a lot about menstrual health. And so I grapple with that every day. There's progressive articles like this one, but at the same time, you go out there and the understanding and access to services and information is holding back millions of people from getting a better understanding of how they can be treated. So that caught my eye because that's just an area of passion for me. I don't know what you guys think, but the second one, again, is this one about how it's hurting the middle class. I think that's something that I think we should delve into.
I mean, when you talk about technology and healthcare, it is something that we don't have an option. We just have to get on board and ensure that we have access to these facilities. And yes, indeed, there's an entire conversation on AI is not ready. How are we sure that it will do proper diagnosis and all that? But we're living in a world where telemedicine is a reality, whether we want to accept it or not. But perhaps even Kenya, we are behind in onboarding telemedicine. And when we see such stories on these women and her story, begs the question, as the world pretty much moves towards including technology in healthcare, what are we doing as a republic? Because even as we speak right now, we're still grappling with SHIF and all that. Universal healthcare access is not a reality to many people. And in Kenya, we always say you are an illness away from poverty.
Exactly. That is the reality. And it's at the same time, Kenya has some of the most progressive minds, when it comes to whether it's fintech, whether it's AI. We're very quick to, and maybe by we, I mean the section who fully understand it, are really quick to understand and integrate and roll out. But I think the barriers that exist, as usual, would always be the policies and the platforms and the accountability that would allow for these really sharp people, for their programs or their insights to help the nation. But whenever I've seen, I think recently there was a 60 Minutes interview that talked about how young Kenyans who were actually being tasked to integrating some AI features, but were being underpaid and and mistreated, so to speak, and yet you can tell that from that kind of work, it's some of the highest paying in the world. And so why do we keep getting this unfortunate setbacks, which comes with corruption and lack of accountability and access? So in terms of AI, financial literacy, fintech, technology integration, I think there's a lot of smart people in the country doing incredible work, or even in the diaspora. But when it comes down to scaling that, the barriers remain. And it goes right into what you've just said, Dennis, in the healthcare system, that you are one sickness away. So I don't really know what's going to happen with SHIF and SHA. It's already bringing a lot of horror stories that people continue to put out on their own personal experiences. A lot just kind of remains to be seen. I think, was it CT who just said earlier, there was a headline that talked about better days to come. And he made a good point of saying maybe he knows something, the DP knows something that we don't, but people don't feel that. That is not the resonance that's out there. If anything, it's pretty bleak. I'm trying to remain cautiously optimistic on the days that I don't wake up enraged. So I've really done a detour from AI all the way to rage. I know it's related, Narudi, but I've done a detour and come back home. But
Let me ask this question. We often talk about a middle class in Kenya. Do we have a middle class, really?
We do.
We do, eh? Okay, what do they look like?
What do they look like? It's middle income earners.
Income earners, pretty much sitting.
What's a middle income earner?
Basically, the definition of a middle class, based off what I've picked up, is individuals who pretty much make the economy move. Those charged with not even charged, responsibility of moving the economy, pretty much, city.
And are cushioned by perhaps a lot of the issues that might affect a majority.
You people are talking as though you're in the middle class. You see, The term differs, in my opinion, from country to country. Because to understand it, then I would ask, what then is a working class person? See, when someone is considered a middle income person, it's not just the money you earn. It's your social status, your education, okay, and then the income is also considered. But you can't be a salary away from poverty. Most people who fall into the category of being in the middle class in this country are literally that. Job stops today, salary stops today. You move from in fact, you don't even stop. You just move from middle class to poor immediately.
How do you observe middle class in Kenya then? What?
By definition, they look at it in terms of Kenya Bureau of Statistics talks about an income, and their level is 60,000. People who earn around 60,000, and it's assumed that 160,000 you need a certain level of education. They do have a point. However, for a middle class to be enduring, it means, yes, the education bit means or implies that they are able to influence decisions. Okay? They tend to be the technocrats. They also tend to be the bureaucrats. Okay? That's one. Two, they are also influential. They are thought leaders, or they are people who, in modern terms, I hear people are referred to as influencers. They are people who actually have some sort of following, and in a political situation, they're the people you would go to as gatekeepers to open certain doors for you because people listen to them. So it's a combination of all these things. So when one talks about the middle class in Kenya, it's a bit nebulous because you're not really sure, because it shifts. This term became more of a reality during the Kibaki era, when many people were able to access funding, finances, and so able to do a lot of things for themselves, things that they were not able to do before. In fact, one of the things that people define the middle class with is if you own a car. We take it as it is an asset, but it's an asset whose value constantly declines.
Right.
With every day, the value keeps declining. But again, it is not a position that is enduring in this country, because a lot of it is pegged not on the businesses you conduct, but on the job that you're employed to do. And if you have an economy where jobs are dwindling and becoming fewer and fewer, then the middle class that we speak of is actually genuinely threatened, if we were to go by that definition.
Yeah, and that brings us to page 4 of the Standard, where pretty much, if you just read the headline there, Ruto's new strategy hurts middle class. Now, President Ruto's shift to a pro-poor agenda raises questions amid economic strain on Kenya's middle class. With the new taxes and a ballooning cost of living, many middle-income earners feel sidelined as his administration focuses on the most vulnerable. Which begs the question, by the time the president was getting to power and even his mantra of hustlers versus dynasty, when he was during the time he was campaigning, reality strikes when you get to power and you realize that you are a president for 52 million people, including the middle class and the wealth in the country, and that each and every person has to be part of the ecosystem that propels your government moving forward.
You put it very well, Dennis, and that is the reason why you have structures to support you. So when you talk of government, you're not talking about the executive. You're talking about the executive, you're talking about the legislature, you're talking about the judiciary. The understanding is that these are the pillars that will determine that the citizenry of the country get a fair shake of it. And even when one is the president, you're not alone. You have people within government who support you. You have ministers. You have civil servants. They're all these people. So yes, it may be difficult, but the reason why you have a civil service and why it is called a civil service is because they don't really change even with governments. So the continuum of government is guaranteed. So when the politicians come in, even if they go, put it this way, even if they left, the country would still run. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes you think it might actually run better. But
and the hope is that the structures, the systems that you talk about, because once those are either compromised or co-opted or whatever word you want to use, then it does kind of shake the foundation. And I dare say that's probably something that people are grappling with, people believe is the reality, whether or not it is. And then that then affects everything else and everyone else. It affects the policies. It affects what CT is saying when it comes to the middle class. If the system is broken or if the system is dented or cracked, then the cracks begin to show within every other industry and within every other platform. So that's why people keep going back to that, to really looking at the foundation and the systems that would then allow the president to enact certain laws or roll out certain programs. And as long as that's not, as long as that's something that's pretty much broken, then what happens to the rest, to everything else that is supposed to be, to come out of that?
And which brings on for the conversation around Ruto's plan in making sure that this bus called Kenya, everyone is included in it. And if you just look at, let's just talk about the overtaxation now. His focus on vulnerable groups is stirring discontent in the middle class and business elites who are increasingly burdened by overtaxation. They argue that the tax seems to prioritize the needs of the poor, leaving the business community in a precarious position. The economic strain on Kenya's middle class is growing, with new statutory deductions such as the Social Health Insurance Fund, the housing levy, and an increase in pay taxes. Now, this is pretty much highlighted in the paper. And even when we talk about taxes, paying taxes, the city is it's a patriotic duty. It is a constitutional requirement for each and everybody to pay taxes. And even when we talk about affordable housing, over the weekend I was having a conversation with someone who was saying, well, I am being deducted for affordable housing, yet I'm equally paying a mortgage for my house. So why am I being deducted if I have a place to live? And these are conversations that people are asking out there, and no response pretty much coming from the government. But that notwithstanding, how do we ensure that as you're taxing ABCD, that EFGH is equally playing their part to make sure that the economy moves, and not a specific demographic, a specific section of the republic feels the pain and the hurt even more? How do we make it equal for everyone, City?
We never will, actually. Not really. So long as you have a parasitic political leadership like the one we enjoy in this particular continent, they extract, they don't build. So what you're asking for essentially falls in the category of what you call a pipe dream. It won't happen. But if we were to have leadership that understands and functions and makes a reality, the term they like, keep like, sometimes you wish lightning would strike some people. How on earth do you talk about servant leadership when everything you do is the complete opposite of the term? Complete and absolute opposite. The resources we have in this country are sufficient to run this country. Sufficient. William Ruto is the president currently, so the buck will stop with him. But the problem didn't start with him. That is the simple reality. The borrowing started when he and Uhuru were in charge.
Please underline he and Uhuru.
Oh, yes. There's no escaping this one.
Yes.
The deputy and the president are tied at the hip in this within our constitution. And they borrowed as though there was no tomorrow. And then tomorrow came. And it found who? The deputy then became president. Yes. So what he and his co-host, started, caught up with him. And now, so here we are. And also, this government has not stopped borrowing either. Now you see, all these things make sense if you have an economy that generates sufficient added value to not only serve the interests of a citizenry, but also to pay these debts without too much of a fuss. But for us, the entire process is painful. And it gets painful by the day. So when you are told that better days are ahead, I pause and I take a deep breath. Say, okay, I've heard it. Now a little more explanation would be useful so that I can understand what these better days are going to look like. Because the ones I'm seeing, there's nothing better about it at all. It's actually gloomy. Every single day, the watchman who works at the place where I live tells me how this 9,000 shillings that they are paid monthly has delayed. This is the second month. This is Nairobi. This fellow buys food from the same shop I buy in. Everything I want to do, he also wants to do. That salary has delayed. Many were laid off. Many are still being laid off. So now, tell me this better, what it looks like.
And I think it's tone deaf. But I also think it's frustrating because, like CT has said, people are not fools. You live in your reality. You live with what is happening around you. And every day when there's statements like better days ahead, stop criticizing, we have built this and we have done that and we've been able to implement this and that. And then to CT's point, there's somebody who's trying to figure out what they're going to do with a delayed salary that can barely cover bare minimum. That is the reality. And I feel like there's such a disconnect to the point where it's even ridiculous. You can have a disconnect where some people who are maybe too drunk in power and find out, power and wealth, just because they don't have any way that they can glimpse reality. But this is a disconnect of people who are fully aware, I believe, of the people that they're serving. To CT's point, it's supposed to be servant leadership. It isn't that. And then you continue to perpetuate that disconnect when people are continually saying things have to change. It's come to a head a few times this year. We've seen that. And I think it's just the beginning. And this isn't to say that is the greatest way that we can address what we're going through, but it's to say after a while, when people are not heard, they'll make themselves heard because you're not listening to the fact that you cannot overtax us or tax us to death. You're not kind of leaning into whether it's teachers or doctors. You're not looking at their frustrations. Content creators are also coming out on the other side being attacked. When you wage a war against your citizens, you're really, really pushing yourself to a corner. And globally, we're seeing that. Globally, we're seeing citizens saying, we cannot continue to live the way we're living. It's not sustainable. Can you hear us? Can you help us? And globally, you're seeing people push back at that and continue living the life that they want. It is not sustainable. We have also seen people in countries take over and say, okay, you go, move, because you're not listening. And so every day, and I don't even say this as an exaggeration, every day I wake up thinking about Kenyans, I wake up thinking about people around the world who are grappling with just the day to day. It is going to affect everyone. And I've always said a system that benefits a select few is a broken system. It's a broken system. And that's why eventually you even have people who previously didn't really have much to say or push back on, or who are quiet and complicit. Now they're raging because the system does not benefit everyone.
Yeah, and you talk about people rising up and fighting for their space. For a very long time, Assad thought that that wouldn't happen. Syrians proved the other way. And we talk about even in South Korea today, it is a situation where people went to the streets. Martial law was introduced. People were on the streets. The president was impeached. Parliament voted otherwise. But then again, Parliament has come forward and sent him packing. This is a situation of people coming up and saying enough is enough. And City, when you talk about matters to do with economy and how people are, the president has access to all these statistics and all these researchers to him. But personally, I think the best statistics you can get is to talk to a Kenyan who will tell you how they're feeling. Because if you go to the streets and just, how is the economy today? Mr. President, you will get your answer.
Like has bowed his head. He's like, hey.
It is not about his
It's bad.
The things people tell you.
Yeah. Because these numbers during the State of the Nation that you give and all that, fine, those are numbers, but the real numbers are down kwa ground. That Jama Boda Boda Mama Mboga is the person who will tell you how the situation is.
That is the barometer, really. That lowest common denominator, if I may use it as a statistical term, That is where the measure comes from. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it is 20 seconds to the top of the hour. Leo Baga will be getting to the studio to bring us Newswire. But at the top of the hour, remember that we have conversations that we shall be having. And in studio with us today is Janet Mbugwa, who is our guest host. And at 7 a.m., we talk about matters to do with real estate in the country. It is 7 a.m.
This is the Newswire. I'm Lea Ubaga. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is recommending the prosecution of several high-profile individuals, including current and former public officials, over corruption and conflict of interest. In its third quarterly report for 2024, covering the period between June 1st and September 30th, the Anti-Graft Agency details investigations into counties and state officials, uncovering money trails and proxy companies used to siphon public funds. The files have been forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions for action. Former Wajir County Governor Muhammad Abdi Mohamud, his wife Kera Omar Malim, and daughter Faria Abdi Muhammad are among those wanted for prosecution. Kenya's candidate for African Union Commission Chairperson Raila Odinga will from next month head to Southern Africa in his last leg of cross-Africa campaigns. Raila's head of campaigns Elkanah Odembo says their Azimio leader will be dedicating next month to the Southern African Development Community, which has 16 member states. The Southern Africa offensive comes days after the Mjadala leadership debate in which Raila faced two of his rivals in a televised debate. During the Friday debate, Raila pledged to work with all African leaders to ensure the continent gets 2 permanent seats at the United Nations Security Council if he is elected. He also emphasized the need to enhance intra-Africa trade, noting that today it stands at just 15%. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has continued to seek support ahead of the 2027 general elections. Speaking at a rally in Gatundu, Kiambu County, Kalonzo said he is the one who'll liberate the nation from the Kenya Kwanza government, which he calls indifferent to the common man. According to Kalonzo, he is announcing a new direction that will be followed next year.
Tumechoka na siasa udanganyifu. Hata makanisa wametoa msimamo. Kanisa ametoa msimamo, Wakenya wamerefuka. Hakuna uongo ambao utapindua nia za wazalendo wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo mimi nimefurahi tu. Nimekuja niwaone hapa na watakia hata mimi happy Christmas. Na mwaka mpya kupeleka Kenya kwanza nyumbani, sio? Yaani hapa hakuna mchezo.
Kalonzo's statement has been reinforced by lawyer Ndegwa Njiru.
Hii nchi lazima tuikomboe kutoka minyororo ya huyu mkatili. Muko tayari? Muko tayari kushikana na sisi tukomboe nchi? Wangapi wako tayari? Wangapi wanasema Ruto must go?
Regarding the listing of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to the foreign company, Adani, Kalonzo now claims that he was the one who was largely responsible for challenging the deal in court.
Jiro na mimi na wenzetu tulitetea Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Haiendi, hiyo mnipigie makofi jamani. Ile mtu anaitwa Andani Shah. Sasa wanataka hata stima iwe ni Andani. Wanataka hata Kenya Airways, I will not agree. Na next thing wanataka kubinafsisha ama kuuza Kenya Airways. Na Kenya Airways ikipita kwa anga yetu inaonyesha Kenya Airways. Hiyo ndio ishara ya uhuru wetu.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has announced that the Mount Kenya region will reclaim its political supremacy in national politics next year through the formation of a new political party. Speaking at Kinunga Baptist Church, Gachagua claimed President William Ruto's administration had humiliated the community. He regretted joining the UDA instead of an established regional party.
Betrayal in this community is a taboo. It is an abomination, and it's one act against this community that is never forgiven. We as a region, we are saying we have been humiliated, we have been ashamed, our dignity has been defiled, our pride has been deflated, lakini tutajipanga. Within a short time, we will claim back our pride and dignity as a people.
That's the Newswire. I'm Leh Obaga.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even see deep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
I did promise that there'd be a change in traffic. Unfortunately, my little stint at being a prophet isn't working. There isn't much traffic on the roads. It's almost a replica of what I said an hour ago. So it doesn't matter whether you look at the area around ABC Place, that's Wairimu Way, it's whether you're looking at Mombasa Road. But Mombasa Road, yes, that spot that I mentioned where Kenha are doing a thing, a jig that this, why on earth do they do these things? Anyway, there's a bit of traffic building up there. Southern Bypass, nothing. Thika Superhighway, yes, it is moving. More and more vehicles are moving. They're moving on to Wangari Maathai Road. They are moving. No jam yet. If you are looking at Uhuru Highway, nothing much. Landis, yeah. Cross sections here and there, you'll find traffic beginning to build up, but nothing much. So now let me be a little more adventurous. You will see more traffic around 9. Right now, there isn't much. But it doesn't matter what it is, please drive carefully and consider the other road users. Have a good day.
It is 10 minutes after 7 a.m. Welcome to the Situation Room. This is Spice FM. In studio with me is CT Muga. Our guest host is Janet Mbugwa. And in studio as well today, we shall be having conversations to do with the future of real estate investment. Susan Njoka, Indirect Sales Manager, Val Real Estate. Karibu sana. And we also expecting Victor Ndegwa, Customer Relations Lead, Val Real Estate City. So, when you talk about matters to do with how you want to consume your fruits, it is all about partnering with an individual who knows how to go about it. Those that take their time to select that fruit that has naturally done what?
Well, that has naturally and specifically been picked so that when you talk about fruit, you're talking about proof that has been given some very serious personal attention. But I'm not just talking about how you bite and munch and chew. I'm talking about how edible fruit can be a drinkable drink. Now, that's what Del Monte have been doing for a very, very long time. They have ensured that beyond simply eating your fruit, you can actually drink it. Now, the beauty of Del Monte and their products is that when I say it's natural, I mean there's no added sugar. I mean there are no preservatives. I mean there's no coloring. It is that fruit that has been selected, that has been ripened naturally, that has now taken the shape and form of this drink. Now, you as our valued guests, I am going to give you a sample of what it is that imbibing the joys of life is all about. And I'm going to give you... Do you drink apple?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
There is a drink here called lychee. I'm told it does lychee things to you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I look forward to this.
Lychee.
It does lychee things.
Yes, it's so good. Both of them are such good flavors.
I love the lychee.
Yes.
Yeah. And City, what's the proverb of the day?
Our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the Republic of Angola. Angola is a former Portuguese colony, so it's a Lusophone country. It's interesting. It's in the west central part of Africa. Okay? And it is bordered by Namibia, DRC, Zambia, and of course the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, Atlantic. This continent, we have Atlantic on one side, then we have Indian Ocean on the other side. Then we have a small sea somewhere up there called Mediterranean. We're not doing too badly.
No.
But while we're doing, we also have Lake Victoria somewhere. Now, the proverb. A real journey begins in old age. That's the proverb.
Yes.
We always ask our guests to tell us what they think this proverb means.
Interesting. A real journey starts at old age. To me, what I would think it means is, as you continue with life, you always think that you know everything. Yeah. I think the younger you are, the more you think you know. And as time goes on, you realize, oh, okay, there were people with a bit more wisdom than I had. And if I had listened, I would have done things a little bit more differently. So as you age, you realize, okay, so I'm learning, I've changed, and I continue to teach others as I learn. So that journey becomes exciting. And I think true fun, I might be short here, but true fun begins after 35.
100%. 38, 39 also. 35 might feel like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Something happens that 40 is
Really?
when there's just a complete recalibration.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say I'm a year into it, so maybe I should give myself time to be like 40s. But I think you're absolutely right. Something shifts over 35.
Believe me, every segment of your life should be enjoyed.
Yes, it should.
Because it has very specific and very special meaning at the time. Because you also find as you get older, you look back and say, yeah, there are regrets, but there was a time when life was peachy.
Very true.
And then you look back and you say, and you'll keep doing that. It's just the way life is structured and the way it's designed. Yes. And we also designed to regret. We also designed to wish. But I need to ask, do we really learn as human beings?
We must. If you're not learning, you're not changing, you're not improving.
Do we really change?
I believe I do, unless you don't.
Me, I don't need to change.
You don't need to change.
I'm old.
If people don't want to learn, you have to remain teachable.
Yeah.
You have to remain teachable. Yeah, and I think one of the greatest barriers is thinking you've arrived, thinking you know, when every day is a reset, you know? So,
City, you say that every segment of your life should be enjoyed.
Yes, you should.
Let Janet enjoy one of the Del Monte's banana.
Janet is going to head in that direction shortly. And what I'm going to give Janet, some gold pineapple. Then I'm going to give her peach. I kept mentioning the word peach. So I'll let her peach right into it.
Yay, thank you.
The Situation Room, we say Christmas comes early.
Christmas comes early.
Yes.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
What a great way to start the week. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Situation Room for this. I'll take them straight home to the boys.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Now, the future of real estate investment in the country. Susan.
Yes.
In terms of real estate development in this country, where do we sit, for starters?
Well, we are quite developed in terms of Africa, East and Central Africa as well. If you've had the pleasure and the privilege of traveling around our continent, you will realize it's when you get the true value of Nairobi. It's when you get the true value of our country, you know. When you go out there and you realize, oh my God, we've done so much when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to allowing people to be, you know, to be able to invest in real estate, to be able to construct, allowing developers, multiple kinds of developers, both local and international, to come and develop in our country. And when you look at our skyline, it's beautiful. So I believe we're headed towards the right direction. And if we continue with the trajectory we're headed towards, then the future is just very bright.
Very bright.
Should we consider ourselves, should we compare ourselves with our neighbors who have, sort of like struggling to figure out what the 21st century is all about? Or should we look at others who seem to have been way ahead, so that whenever we look at our progress and we appreciate it, we understand that there's still a lot more we need to do?
Of course, as I said, when it comes to learning, we can always learn. And it's always good, even as a country, to learn. So we celebrate where we are right now, but we look at the future knowing that, okay, there's much bigger and better that we can get to. Yes.
When we talk to people who are experts in investments, they only talk about diversifying. Now, people who belong to my age set, we know investment is land.
Well, I used to believe investment is land as well. I'm a millennial. So my parents, as soon as I started working, my parents are like, okay, Kamugoda we must get. You now have a salary. And I resisted. Oh my God, I resisted because I couldn't understand, why am I buying this land? And then my mom, I love you, Mom. My mom called me and says, so your grandma, no, my great-grandma, your great-grandma is selling a piece of property somewhere in Ruiru, and I want you to buy it. And I was like, Mom, I don't even know where Ruiru is. As .com proper. So Nairobi, Najasibidina Westi. And my mom was like, okay, no, you must buy this property. So I went to the bank, I took a loan, and I bought the property. And land was a beautiful thing for me personally, because I reaped the benefits of buying that piece of property. I wish I was more educated at the time on the value of buying land, not with debt, but buying land that you can afford at the time. But it still brought back quite a lot. Now that I have more knowledge on the topic, I do understand that diversification is extremely important. You do not want to buy only one type of property. Let's talk about different types of investments that you can make in the real estate world. I know when people think about real estate, they think land is affordable, which is true. You'll get land I had the other day, please don't quote me, but I had the other day a ridiculous pricing of like 10,000 bob per acre. And I was like, what?
Where?
That's why I said don't quote me. It was here by say I cannot authenticate it. But I do know pieces of property that are in the 100,000s, you know, that have good titles, good location, etc. But beyond that, when someone thinks about real estate, you think about an apartment and you think how expensive it is and how you can't afford it. So allow me to break down the different ways where you can invest in property. You can invest in real estate as a REIT, which is the real estate investment trusts. Yeah. And right now I know particular REITs that are even doing it at 1,000 bob, you know. So when you're just starting up in life, 1,000 bob here and there once in a while will not cost you much. All right. Then away from that, you can then invest in land, which I know all of us have invested in at some point. Then from there, you can then move on to invest in apartments. And in apartments, you can do two ways. There's the affordable housing, which I believe the government is really pushing and doing its best to assist us to invest in. I know there are enough developers who are also developing good properties that are affordable, especially in the outskirts of Nairobi, where again, good infrastructure has allowed us to be able to live outside of Nairobi. That's making it a little bit easier to invest in those properties. Then you're also looking at your luxury investments. But this you do as you continue to graduate. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So do it slowly, continue. And then away from that now, there's the concept of investing in hotels, hotel apartments. Like we have a hotel that we've constructed, and you can own part of a hotel. It runs as a full-fledged hotel, but you own a piece of it. So again, investment is bit by bit, slowly by slowly, dependent on the capacity you have at the time. Also, when you're looking at investing in things like apartments, think about investing in a developer who is trusted. And as you invest in a developer who is trusted, then you can invest in doing things that are still in development. This way it gives you time to pay for the development. But please do your due diligence. I always tell my clients, investing in a good lawyer might sound expensive right now, but in future you will reap the benefits. So do your due diligence, get you a good lawyer, get you someone you trust who can assist you to know who a good developer is and what checkboxes you're ticking. So there are multiple ways to invest.
And you speak of trust, especially in these in this space where for a very long time Kenyans have always received the short end of the stick. We know of cases where Kenyans have lost their hard-earned resources, money, and all that in making sure that they at least get a piece of pie when it comes to matters to do with the real estate. And you say invest in a good lawyer and all that, but I'm coming to you and I trust you that you have the you have all the needed requirements. You have good lawyers in there, that you are registered under the law. So as a Kenyan goes through about wanting to invest, what areas should he be looking at?
Now, I just want to understand, you're talking about investing in apartments in ongoing development, correct? All right. So here you're looking at, number one, who is the company? Who is behind the company? Where has this person come from? What kind of character are they? I know it sounds strange to look at the person behind the name, but a name is just a name. A person is there. You know. Two, you want to look at, have these people done other developments, whether by their own name or under someone else? I'll give you an example. When we, Val, were starting up, because we were new in the market, we partnered with other well-known developers to work with them, brand with them, promote for them, so that we build our own name. We understand this Kenyan market. So you want to know who the person behind the company is. Number two, don't assume I have the documentation. Please check for yourself. Don't make those assumptions, because assumptions is where people go wrong. Make sure that you've actually tick box those documentation. And that's why I said you want a good lawyer, because a good lawyer will know what documents to look at. You want to be able to run a CR12 to know who are the directors of this company. Because sometimes a face is a face, and then behind that face are 20 other people. But a CR12 will enable you to know who these other 20 people are.
What's a CR12?
Oh, sorry. A CR12 is a legal document that shows you the ownership of a company. And it's something that you can get from the government very, very easily. I think you'll run it from Sharia House. Victor, correct me? Yes. Right. So you'll run it from Sharia House. I don't think it costs you more than 1,000 bob. And you'll be able to get the document that tells you who owns this company. Away from that, the development itself, each development has its own paperwork. Yes, the company has paperwork, but the development has paperwork as well. You might find that it's a joint venture trust, or you might find that it's a direct ownership from these guys. And each project will be named after that project for most developers, and will have its own separate ownership documents. So you want to check the company, you want to check the development. After that, you know who owns this company, then you want to know, have these people delivered anything else? Have they done any other project that I can see with my own eyes? And I can hear from the management, I can hear from the caretaker, what are the problems of this building? What did they do wrong? What did they do right? Number 3, you want to know who's managing this building after these guys are gone. I know enough people who cry because, a development was done, the developer malizad, they've sold to you and they've vamoosed. Here you have.
Vamoosed means they disappeared.
He's looking at you like, after this show, Tutaongani my attend. I really appreciate how you're leading a lot of what you're saying with due diligence and a few other important, because I think people are so into quick wins.
Yes.
We need to also inculcate a culture of patience.
Yes.
I understand why our patience has been one thing just by simply existing in the country we do. But there is something to be said about taking that route, because I can imagine somebody listening or watching thinking, that sounds like a lot. But it really, in the long run, there's a sustenance, because you checked out everything in the beginning. Even the way she's speaking to the management at that building, getting a second opinion, people don't take time to do that, and then they come in and gaslight the entire experience. So is that also something that you walk clients through? Like, listen, I know, I'm so glad you're here and that we're working with you, but this is how we... And do you also advise them on sort of the professionals to seek counsel from?
Yes, I always say real estate is not a medical emergency. You don't need to rush into it. Take your time. As a seller, I'll tell you it's gone. And I'll give you that sense of panic. But trust me, if this investment was for you, it will be for you. Take your time. Yes, you can get, when you have a good lawyer, they know the quick stops, and the process is pretty seamless. And we'll introduce you to a set of lawyers so that you're not taking... I'm not directing you to one person. I'm directing you to like 5 people who then you check their character and their vibes. God, how will I explain?
But let me ask a question. Why would one need a lawyer for these transactions? Is it possible to transact without a lawyer?
It's possible, but not advisable.
Why?
Because this is a very big investment. You'll find that real estate for most people is their single largest item on their portfolio, bigger than the money market, bigger than even their savings in their account. If this is as big on your portfolio as it should be, then doesn't it warrant proper due diligence?
Are you saying that I can't do the due diligence myself?
I'm not saying you can't, I'm just not advising it. I'll give you an example. When it comes to constructing, I know enough people who can put up a roof. Yeah? Even you yourself, Google, YouTube will teach you how to do it. But you're not a professional at it. 80% of the time, you will fail. Yeah. So it's better to let those people who've actually learned how to do this on a day-to-day, it's their profession, do it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to buy a property.
Yes.
there are laws in this country that guide you as to how to buy property. There's a process.
Yes.
Are there different processes for buying property?
No, the structure is pretty much the same.
Precisely,
Yes.
meaning there is a format.
Yes.
Okay? The lawyers who do this thing, they're called conveyancing lawyers or something. So, essentially, if you know what you want, it's a question of understanding now the details of this specific project that you want. The details of the specific property in terms of the tenure. Is it lease? Is it whatever it is that land is supposed to be? Again, I'm asking the question. Lawyers do this on a daily basis, so they're clearly familiar. Yes, it's like me saying I can treat myself, and yet there are doctors who can understand. But land is different.
And Victor Ndegwa, Customer Relations Lead, Val Real Estate, has just joined us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
And Victor, when we talk about matters to do with real estate, it is not a space that everyone gets into being ready. Others is because that ad on YouTube looks really good. It's because my mom pushed me into this, or I got a certain milli somewhere that I need to invest. And it is a space where you come in to give assurances. You come in to assure your customers that when you come to us, we will be able to walk you through it for you to see what kind of investments you will get into, because she's listed quite a few. So when we come back after the break, I want you to just take us through the entire process of getting into the real estate and how Kenyans should go about. She said you need to follow through the processes, but okay, I've gone through all that. Then what? After this break,
All right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This festive season may not be the happiest moment of your life, but there's always something to celebrate, something called life. Where hope has died, every new year brings with it new hope, new beginnings, and a chance to do everything that you hadn't done before in the hope that it will turn better. Rejoice in the reality of your life. Rejoice in your health, rejoice in your family, rejoice in simply being where you are at this point in time, and rejoice in having the ability to have hope as you look into the future.
The weather with SpiceFM.
And here's a look at the weather forecast. We'll start with a few towns across Kenya. We have Kakamega with highs of 30 degrees, lows of 15. We have Nyeri town, 26 degrees, highs and lows of 13. Nakuru, highs of 27, lows of 13. Lugari, Kenya, highs of 25, lows of 12. Let's move just to our neighboring countries. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 31, lows of 26, so really warm there. Let's go to DRC, Congo. That's in Kinshasa, highs of 30 degrees, lows of 24. Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 34, lows of 25. And then we have London, United Kingdom, highs of 12, lows of 8. We have Paris, France, highs of 11, lows of 7. That is a look at your weather forecast.
right, traffic. It is building up. Around Kasarani, there's traffic building up. Well, around, this is around just Jujero, you're talking about around City Car Park. Yes, Parklands area, yes, traffic is building up. Mombasa Road, definitely. That spot I mentioned earlier on, the traffic is building up, meaning it isn't at a standstill, but it's moving very slowly. If you look at other roads within the city, you are looking at Wangari Maathai Road, not much. If you're looking at the bypasses, not much. If you are looking at Raila Odinga Way, yes, there's traffic just around City Mortuary. I'm told it's called something else now. But anyway, City Mortuary. There is traffic building up there. Roundabouts and places where there are traffic lights, yes, you're looking at Waiyaki Way. Within the next hour, as I said, which will be around 8, there will be a lot more traffic. But please drive carefully. They are the road users, and they need your care just as your care needs them. Have a lovely day.
It is 36 minutes after 7 a.m. and this is the Situation Room. In studio with me is CT Muga. We have Janet Mbuga as our guest anchor, Karibu Sana. And as well, we're talking about matters to do with real estate, and Victor Ndegwa, customer relations lead, Val Real Estate, Karibu Sana, and Susan Njoka, indirect sales manager, Val Real Estate City. Now, when we talk about matters to do with real estate, it's all about investment. And we have a partner, we have someone who has been into wealth and telling us how to go about it, yeah?
Let me throw some figures at you. Let's start with the years. A century is 100 years. If you add 10 years to it, that's a century and a decade, okay? Then if you talk about 50, now I'm talking about 50 plus markets. Now the 110 years, that's the number of years Standard Chartered have been in this business of helping people grow wealth. The sort of wealth that you need to buy this real estate that we're talking about here. 50 plus markets means it's all over the world. When any business has been around for a century and a decade, it's a long time, and they're still doing the same business. Same as in they've been growing wealth, but over time, they've gotten to a point of understanding that you as an individual require certain priorities. There are things that are important to you. And that is why Standard Chartered Priority Banking comes with more than just the advice and the knowledge you need to invest. You're given a manager who actually seeks to understand you and understand your priorities and how best to place them. You know what your financial might or the lack of it thereof is, but their job is to make whatever you have work for you in the best way possible. Now that's priority banking. You are at the center of their attention so that whatever it is, over time, can grow. This is not putting money in the bank and letting it sit there and every once in a while you ask for the statement. It's not that one. It is how it is you can diversify it and make sure that, one, this money becomes wealth. Now, you're going to ask me, what is wealth? Wealth, yeah, money, yes, constitutes a bit of wealth. But investment, meaning something that replicates itself over time meaningfully and grows, that's wealth. The value add is clear and the value add is certain. And that is Standard Chartered Priority Banking. Yes.
Yes, and to get them?
Well, there's something you need to do. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, if you have a good memory, let me just mention it. It's wealth.kenya@sc.com. That's all you need to do. Wealth.kenya@sc.com. Okay?
And now I'm managing my wealth, and I come to Val Real Estate. I have gone through the processes that Susan says I go through. Now I meet with Victor. Now, Victor, it is a question of I've done all that, but I still need assurances that that apartment, I will see it, that if I'm investing into a REIT system, that I'm assured I will get the returns that I need. So take us through that, because someone who's listening to us right now is like, okay, this is too technical for me to understand. Just break it down for us.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here. So I champion the client relations side on this other side, and just like you said, it's a huge investment that people come and take in when they're taking in real estate. Now we are here to represent the youth, majorly because they are the ones who usually ask so many questions and are usually not very prepared with such things. Now, it's necessary to do something called partnership selling, whereby it's not, I'm selling you a complex product. In this time now, we're talking about a lifestyle. And for me to do that, I can't just give it to you or sell it to you. It's not like a trade-off. I have to walk with you through the process. Now, just like Susan mentioned, we have a couple of things that you need to look at, and you have to be ready to do these things, because sometimes the limiting factor is ourselves, in particular. So you have gone through the lawyers, you have gone through Susan, and she's taken you through all the necessary things that you're supposed to do. So now when you come to my side, so now we unravel the whole mystery called real estate. So I will want to also take you to a number of site visits, probably in the specific property, for you to understand what exactly goes down when you talk about construction. We have very many ups and downs. You have so many people. We have so many things going on at the same time. If you do not know, if you have no clue, you might end up asking a lot of questions that will delay your whole process. So I will want to take you through to the site visits. You've never gone to or inside a construction site. This is the time to go. Let's see what the engineers do. Let's see what the support staff do. Let's see what the health insurance guys do there. Let's see what every person does. This is to give you a whole insight of exactly what you got yourself into. All right. After we do that, we will also want to have several question and answer sessions. So I will always be present in the office. Anytime you have something pressing, just call me, just text me. I will want to engage you thoroughly in this real estate thing. This is the thing. We young people, let me put myself in that category, we like fast wins. And
microwave success.
We like it when we get it fast. And real estate is one of the investment packages that appreciate in value every single day. Now, it doesn't appreciate every single night. That's the thing to capture. So we have to walk through it, and when you walk through it, it's a process. Now, when they say trust the process, they mean there are so many nitty-gritties inside there that you need to understand, but not today. No, you can't grasp everything today. We have to walk through it. So the key thing that we will do after sales, or even during sales, is something we call partnership selling. I'll want to hold your hand. I have been equipped by the company. Now, I trust that you've done your due diligence with my company, because just like Susan said, we might be very nice looking faces, but behind you need to also understand what's happening. I've been equipped with the knowledge to now guide you through this whole process. Hey Victor, do I need a lawyer? Just like we got that very good question. It's a question we get every single time. Like I know how it is. So can we just get through the paperwork? So I'll be the one to tell you, hold your horses. Do you know A, do you know B, do you know C? Can we walk through them? Can we just unravel everything about it? So it's a complex product called a lifestyle. We're selling it to you, because when you get into the real estate market, trust you me, it is very addictive at the same time. Once an investor, always an investor. Once you get into it, you will find it hard to leave it, because it is sweet. And it is very sweet for that matter. So it will want to go through step by step, so that you can also make clear guided judgments on this. And after which we do all that, then you will be able to now get the whole fruit of your labor, so to say. Yeah, so that's how I would put it.
You know, every time one mentions real estate, the thing that comes to mind is the number of times you come across stories and articles where people have been given the short end of the stick. And I think that's where you come in now, because you're saying, look, we know that all these things happen, and we're giving you a guarantee. What exactly is this guarantee?
Wow. Hello, Maniamkia. I love it. I love it. So, for us as Val Real Estate, what we can guarantee you is that we are here for a long time. We have already delivered 3 projects. We have a project that we are delivering next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. We are not only in Kenya, we're in Kenya, Uganda, and Ghana, and our headquarters is in Turkey. In Ghana, we've also delivered a project, and we have other projects that are due for delivery, so our track record will speak for itself. Number 2 is that we are financially stable, which is one of the biggest problems that always precede the downfall of companies. Yeah.
When you say financially stable, what do you mean?
Yes.
What we mean is that we are able to complete our projects, we are able to maintain our staff, and we actually have quite a large staff of over 200 permanent employees and 2,000 temporary or contractual employees. So we are able to sustain that for a long run.
And you mentioned, in terms of financial stability, it is a critical it is a critical subject to look at because in terms of doing my due diligence, I need to know who owns the company, the reasons behind it, and financial stability is one thing that comes into focus, because I want to know that if I'm investing in you, I will not get the short end of the stick, and that I need you to guarantee me. So in terms of just getting information on financial stability of these institutions, how can I as an investor get that information? Because that is another area where getting information from the banks about someone's financial status is always difficult because it is private.
I'll tell you, when most of us think about getting financial information, you think about getting a statement from a bank. That's what all of us think about, yeah? But when it comes to a developer or real estate investment, you're looking at particular clauses in your sale agreement that then protect you and protect the money that you're giving into, yeah? You're looking at I really don't want to get into the legal part because I'm not a lawyer. Reason why I say for particular investments you should get one, because they're able to spot these particular clauses, and if someone has not added in a clause that protects the money that you're giving them, then you're able to add in those particular clauses that protect you. So when it comes to development, it's more into your sale agreement and the clauses that contain onto that sale agreement, and getting to the point where that sale agreement is actually, stamped by the government and registered with the government. It's a process. Yeah.
I have a question, and maybe you've alluded to it already through what Siti and Dennis have asked. And it might even sound like an obvious or strange question, but a lot of the times people get discouraged just based on the state of current affairs in a country, right? It may discourage them. Maybe they had planned this January, this year is my year for real estate. I mean, June happened, and then there's not just a shift in the country, but there's a shift in confidence, there's a shift in outlook. Again, nobody can predict that, Val or any countries. But how do you navigate that if maybe there's a sense of uncertainty or destabilization where people have already given their money, or where people had intentions and now they're drawing back? How do you continue to give that confidence and assurance that despite what's happening, it's still a good idea to invest in real estate?
And I think to just add on what Janet is asking, in terms of just political goodwill in allowing you to do what it is you do, in terms of policies in place, the laws that govern you, how critical is that, together with the question that Janet is asking?
Okay. So any investor who's already invested in real estate will know that when things are looking at a bit unshaky, that's a perfect time to invest. Why? Because people are a little bit more lenient in terms of giving discounts. You get a little bit more for your buck. But again, it's very important what Janet is asking, as a first-time investor or even a second-time investor, you want to know that my money is safe. I'm not just giving this and then a law comes in and just destabilizes everything. That's why you want a partner, number one, who understands public participation. Every law that comes into governing comes under public participation. And we as Val have friends, in the development world. And we're always talking, we're always getting to know what's going on your side, what's going on my side. How can we assist the government to ensure that we are headed in the right direction? And it's a really good thing that now the government is also doing housing. So they are looking at some of these laws. They're headed in the right direction. They will continue. I want to believe so. But back to the question. So we are always trying to find better ways to serve our clientele and give them that comfort of the money that you're giving us is safe and we'll always give it back. So when it comes to even our offer letters, because you'll do an offer letter before you go into your sale agreement so that you can see the basic terms of your sale agreement before, you get in bed with us. In ile nakupeleka date before sasa nikukatie proper.
That's a really good way to put it. Think of it like a date.
Yeah. So in that document we'll always have cancellation clauses and clear terms of how your money is gonna be handled and how you get it back if you decide, okay, I don't want to get into bed with you guys anymore, or something has changed, because things change. Yeah. I'll give you a story of when I joined Val. When I joined Val, there was a gentleman who had a fire, a horrible fire. It still tears me up till today. And he had invested with us. It was really difficult for him. And then the company just said, you know what? Take the money back. We are canceling. Here you go. And right now he's doing amazing. Can you imagine? And for a company to decide, we wouldn't bind you to the contract, we wouldn't bind you to anything, we wouldn't take a shilling from you, here you go and do what you need to do. So you want a company that understands values. It's not just business, it's value. Okay. It's family.
Can I also get money if I'm anticipating a fire?
No. This was something that we had verified. People had gone there, etc.
City.
Yes.
Let me get to this. Yeah. If you consume lots of YouTube or even social media right now, you realize a lot of real estate companies are using influencers pretty much to sell these properties in London. And someone seated at the periphery would ask, even just from listening to what it is we're talking about, can I trust a realtor or an investments company that is using influencers to sell property?
Influence tumekukosea wapi? Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm joking.
I would assume then is that the influencer, that's precisely what they're doing.
Yeah.
They are highlighting this matter for you, but it doesn't detract or remove from the due diligence that you're supposed to do. But the influencer, because they are known, you are now aware. You now have knowledge that this thing. So essentially, it's not the end of the story. That's actually the beginning of the story.
Exactly.
Yes.
And influencers are just another channel of marketing, and they're brilliant at it. You want to? We go to influencers because Janet's network is not my network, and there are people in Janet's network who've never heard of me, who I know if I come to her and we do business together, they will hear about me, come to me, and we follow the same process. Yes. The mistake we do at the end of the day is what Victor said. We like microwave wings. You say, oh my God, Nani said we buy, so we buy. And you fall down that trap.
Dennis, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ask.
There's something you were getting at when you mentioned influencers. Is there anything adverse that you have heard mentioned that has arisen from influence was being used to market, say, things like real estate.
Actually, Mama J, who's listening to us, is asking, there are many realtors using social media influencers to sell property. Can they be trusted? So it is just her as well seeking assurances in terms of who do I go to? I've seen Assetto is pushing for this, but do I go to Assetto or do I come to Val so that I follow through the processes?
Assetto should introduce you to Val.
Thank you.
Yes. At the end of the day, you want to be transacting with the actual property owner and not a second party or a third party. Because in real estate, you'll find that I know enough transactions where Janet was introduced to Susan, who knows Victor, who knows City, who knows the owner of the property. But that's not how it should be. It should be a direct introduction. Here's the property owner. As agents, they are catered for separately, so it should not interfere with your business in any way.
So I hear you say, what I'm hearing you say is, at the end of the day, businesses will always advertise, and they will use those who have contacts and have a wider reach. But it is incumbent upon the client to follow the due process so that they go through the relevant processes that are needed before they get into these huge investments that you're talking about. Now, Victor, when you talk about, finally, now you're talking about the youth, and the youth will say, nitapiga sherehe leo, nitaenda kwa Val the other time. But in terms of just sitting them down, in terms of look at what the government is doing with regard to affordable housing, we are here to offer you this lifestyle as well that is here. In terms of just bringing the youth into this entire conversation on investing into real estate, how critical is it in terms of looking at what the future holds?
It is very, very, very critical, considering the fact that, number one, the youth, just like real estate, will have to move in tandem for them to be the future of this country. I've loved that discussion of influencers, because we've also talked about it at length, especially on my side of client relations. Something I wanted to add to Susan is, on top of what she said, influencers help us break down the information according to how the consumer wants to hear it. I might say things here in some certain jargon, but when I go to Janet, she'll speak to her audience in the right jargon that they get it, and so that helps us demystify a lot of things. It is very integral for not only the youth but all the masses to understand what they're getting into in this whole thing called real estate. It's very important for them to follow the due processes. It is very important for them not to want to skip any point. Some of them are very rigorous, I'll be very honest. Some of them are also very tedious, because like you mentioned, when you have the knowledge, you will want to quote unquote evade the lawyer. You know, it's a lot of things you want to evade, but that's also human nature, and we also understand that. So that's why we will advise you to have a lawyer outside, but it's also good to have someone on the inside. Now, coming back to the issue of navigating the political instabilities and whatever is happening in the country, especially to our clientele outside the country, because these things matter a lot to diasporians. We have a wide base of clientele, and we'll have the locals, we have the foreigners, and we have the diasporians. They are very important in our market. We will try and communicate what's happening. It's very important for them to also have an inside person, and that's where I come in. We just try and snip it down to very nice chewable pieces of information for you to grasp, so that in as much as we are having the Gen Z's mandamanos and all that, at the end of this side, I'm also able to tell you, yes, by the way, this is not anything political. This is not anything that is going to sway your real estate investment. So stay put. We're still on. You will also need your lawyer at that point. So it is very integral, and it's very important for us to move in tandem. If the real estate market is growing, it appreciates every year. Right now, I think annually you're talking about, from 5.18%, I guess, per year in terms of growth in the real estate sector. And if we, the youths, are going to be left out, or if the guys, our mentors like CT here, are left out, it's going to be a very huge loophole coming in the future. And so we need to move in that tandem. So it's very important, to be honest. It's very
Why must I be
I was waiting for that. She's like, you called me a what?
And that's why he's the word mentor.
Why can't you be a mentor?
No, of course we will, and we will.
There's a reason why I say this.
Yeah,
we have a youth bulge in this country, and the vast majority of the citizens are youth.
Yeah.
The vast majority
are the youth. And yes, indeed, a majority are the youth, and it is a conversation that must continue. And Victor Ndegwa and Susan Njoka are from Val Real Estate. Be sure to talk to them in matters investment. It is 8 a.m.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. One person has been hospitalized following a fire incident in Nakuru in Nairobi. According to the Kenya Red Cross, the fire broke out at Vietnam Village, affecting a residential area. A response team was dispatched to the site, where 4 minor casualties were treated and 1 taken to hospital. An assessment by the Kenya Red Cross noted that approximately 70 households and 10 businesses were affected. The death toll of the Narok-Bomet highway accident has risen to 7 after 2 succumbed to their injuries while undergoing treatment at the Narok Referral Hospital. 24 others who were injured after a school bus and a matatu collided in the Ololini area are still receiving treatment. Police said the bus from Mesabisabi Secondary School was heading from Narok to Bomet, while the Narok Line Services matatu was driving in the opposite direction when the accident occurred. It was raining heavily, but the bus driver was reportedly overtaken carelessly, leading to the collision with the oncoming matatu. Politician Philip Kisia says the government prioritizing the Haiti mission of paying teachers and medics is wrong. Kisia said the government needs to recall back police in Haiti and divert the millions of shillings spent there to more important matters.
Why would the president allow ourselves to be in this situation? We signed with the doctors, not we, but the government signed, and they made certain promises. They have money to pay for this Grammy Award that does not exist. They have that money. They actually even have money to buy the president the latest model of Maybach, S-Series, latest. They have money to pay. They have money to make this man live in comfort. But we have no money to pay our doctors. It is shameful. It is so shameful. We have money to spend in a mission in Haiti, where we have no business. 2 billion, asking for another 17 billion. But we have no money to pay our doctors and interns. It is shameful. Shame on these people. Shame on this government. Please get your priorities correctly. We don't need to spend money in those things that don't add value to us. You can even use an old car. We've seen it. Other presidents doing it. We don't need that Haiti fellows in any mission. Cancel it. That money should be going to pay our lecturers, paying our doctors, not being spent in a useless mission called Haiti.
An audit has queried 1.07 billion that security agencies said they spent on emergencies in the last financial year for lack of supporting documents. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu disclosed in recent reports to Parliament that details of the payments were not provided for her review. The Defence Ministry, Interior Ministry and Department of Irrigation were the beneficiaries of the 1.07 billion shillings for various emergency situations. Defence and Interior were allocated 500 million each, while Irrigation got 70 million for various urgent and unforeseen requirements. The review for the period ending June 30th, 2024 revealed ministries, departments and state agencies received 6.5 billion in emergency funding. Gathungu said the 3 agencies did not provide expenditure returns with details of payments made from the advances for review by auditors. Investigations are ongoing after the body of a middle-aged man was found dumped at Marumbasi village in Sigei location, Kericho County. According to locals, the deceased, a resident of the neighbouring Chemegong village, is suspected to have been killed on Saturday night before his body was dumped in a thicket on a farm in Marumbasi. Family members discovered the body on Sunday. The man was reportedly reportedly last seen drinking with friends at a bar in Corner Trading Centre on Saturday night. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM Kisumu.
Patrick Lodge Otieno Lumumba, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga the opposite. Wewe ukisikiliza na unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room. Spice, the only way to start your day.
You know, every time I'm asked to talk about traffic, I forget I'm the one who's supposed to be talking about traffic. Anyway, here we go. Traffic. And where are we, traffic? Traffic. Where art thou, traffic? Well, as I said in the previous hour, not much has actually changed. And the areas that I mentioned, you're talking about, say, Juja Road, you are talking about Wangari Maathai, you're talking about the area around City Mortuary, you're talking about Mombasa Road. That's where you find smidgens of traffic. Mombasa Road slowly building up. If you talk about Haile Selassie, yes, because there is some construction work going on there and traffic is actually slow. One has to be extremely careful. As we go into this holiday season, people begin to feel relaxed. It is good to be relaxed, but be relaxed and be careful. Drive carefully. Be considerate of other road users. Have a lovely day.
After 8 a.m., I am Dennis Aseto. Eric Latiff is in Israel, Bethlehem. We shall be touching base with him with regard to the story in Israel. We know the war that is raging there, and Ndu Okoh as well is unwell. We wish her the very best. But in studio, CT Muga is with me, and Janet Mbugwa, who is our guest host. Good morning. And right now we also have Isaac Ndereva, who is an executive director, Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya, and electricity billing analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa. Isaac, karibu sana.
Asante sana, Dennis.
Yeah, but before we get to that conversation now, City wants to tell you about a partner who will help you to manage your wealth better, who has been in the game for over 100 years. City.
How many of you have heard of something called mutual bonds?
Just
we're not talking about the manufacturing of ropes when you talk of bonds. How many of you have heard of mutual funds? Kenya government bonds, don't you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, now, how many of you have considered investing and reaping your investment in foreign currency? The euro, the dollar, well, if you like to be local, the Kenya shilling. Well, this is what priority banking with Standard Chartered does for you. It opens up a whole new world of opportunities and possibilities. Safe investments that guarantee you a return. But in addition to that, there is a constant personal advice that meets your specific needs that is also provided for you. Standard Chartered Priority Banking is, let's put it this way, the companion you've always looked for and probably thought you couldn't have. We are now telling you Standard Chartered Priority Banking is available to you. All you need to do is go to standard.kenya@sc.com and you will have all the details you need as to how it is you can benefit from this wonderful product that Standard Chartered has.
Yes. Now, Isaac.
Yes.
Every morning, pretty much, you always have something that you drink, right?
Yes.
Yes. And right now, we have a partner who wants to make sure that any other time you wake up in the morning, that the fruits that you like to eat at this particular moment, you can drink it. City seems to be really excited about the fruits in the studio. You know, it's all about City having fun.
Are you okay?
Surely, how many times do you lean on a chair and fall over in the studio?
Oh my. Are you okay though?
I did that on purpose. I could have leant back, but I wouldn't want to lie on this floor, and today I have an opportunity. I'm actually good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Isaac. Now, City says that that partner Del Monte is actually there to ensure that you enjoy your fruits, not just any other fruits, but one that has been selected for you, that has naturally ripened, and one that does not have preservatives. But that is City to tell you.
Yes. How does it sit? Yeah.
Drinking and drinking fruit is not the same thing, because you drink water. Water is not a fruit. Drinking porridge is not a fruit. But if you like fruit, it means you like eating fruit. And the process of consuming fruit, as far as we are concerned, has to do with the eating of it. Now, Del Monte is saying, no, I want you to drink it. We're going to take it further. We even want you to drink a vegetable.
Tomato. Is this supposed to be a drink?
Yes, it is a drink. It is a drink. Okay. Now, why I've chosen these two drinks for you is because they not only come with the value of being natural, they also come with health additives.
Oh.
Yes. Good for your liver.
The tomatoes are good for the liver?
Oh, yes. It's liver health. And all these juices have no added sugar, no colors or flavors, no preservatives, none whatsoever.
Oh, okay. I am trying to imagine that this Del Monte tomato should also be used with French fries or something.
Oh.
It's not the same as
okay.
I'm so curious about that one. I'm so curious about that flavor.
Yes. This, I drink it myself, so I know.
So you also drink tomato sauce?
I don't drink tomato sauce because
it's different.
This is a sauce. This is a juice.
Oh.
Yes, this is a juice. That one has preservatives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This one doesn't.
I will really go for this one. I'll try.
Isaac, I see where you're going with this. Please don't drink the ketchup in your house. This you can drink.
Yes.
And this you can also drink.
Okay.
Now, when you consume Del Monte products, it isn't a balancing act similar to what I was trying to do on the chair.
Nice.
You actually drink the real thing, and you, my friend, and the real expert in the world of electricity. So let the real communicate and enjoy real. Yes.
Thank you. Looks like it's something to try this Christmas.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
And while you're enjoying that real begetting real, it's Christmas season. Don't try the balancing act. Just try
Yeah.
Now, Isaac Ndereva is Executive Director, Electricity Consumers Society of Kenya and Electricity Billing Analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, we are investigating the high cost of electricity into the country. Now, Isaac, there was a time when electricity pretty much in the country was pegged on water levels, and it rained, we know, we experienced floods in the country. The dams are full, but still we experience high electricity in this country.
Yeah.
What's the problem, Isaac?
Good. Thank you very much, Dennis. I like it when I get such questions because it means that people want to understand. First of all, let me say that the committee we had in the National Assembly, the Departmental Committee on Energy, led by...
I saw your paper,
led by Honorable Vincent Musyoka, or Kawaya, did a very commendable job. They tabled the report in the parliament, so we are waiting for the yes question or just a question, yes or no. And then also mentioned that Jane Kagiri, Honorable Jane Kagiri, the women rep for Laikipia County, also did a very good job because we worked together to ensure that she puts that motion to parliament. And I think so far, even if they were given 120 days and they took too many days, I think the job, it's worth it. And they really investigated each and every person that is supposed to be investigated. Now, and your question is, when we have floods, we still have high cost of power. I mean, the best thing to mention is the cost of power to Mombasa or the coast region. Even if you have floods, even if you bring the whole Indian Ocean to Olkaria or whatever happens, that will never change because we don't have any river that serves Mombasa region. We don't have any geothermal that would be taken to that side. But there were plans for that to happen because there is a line that was done which is 400 kV. That is 40,000 volts of alternating current. That was done from Isinya to Mombasa. I'm not sure whether that has been completed, but it's supposed to land at somewhere called Mariakani substation, where it's supposed now to distribute. That has never been achieved. Now, as a result, we have had 4 thermal plants in Mombasa. We have had Kipevu 1, Kipevu 2, Kipevu 3, and Rabai.
When you say thermal, just hold it.
Yes, here diesel.
That's thermal.
Yes.
Oh, so what does thermal mean?
There is a difference between thermal and geothermal. Thermal means it's, when I say diesel, some of them use heavy fuel. So that's why we call it thermal, because there's an engine. Okay? So we had 4. We stopped Kipevu 2 because the contract ended in September of 2021. And then just recently we have stopped Kipevu 1, owned by Kengen. So we now have Kipevu 3 and Kipevu and Rabai. Now, those actually takes 74. Last month, they took 74% of the fuel cost. Actually, we paid 1.3 billion of fuel to them. And that account...
We paid for fuel?
We paid for fuel used to generate power there.
That we again...
because Kengen owns it.
Not Kengen. One is owned by Kengen, and another one is owned is Rabai.
Rabai.
Yes.
Rabai is privately owned.
It's privately owned by investors.
So why are we buying fuel for them?
No, what we do, the contract is that they have the plant, they have invested in the plant, but any fuel that is going to be used will be paid direct. And because it varies every month, we have to keep on changing that cost, and it cannot be put on the main tariff. It has to keep on changing, and they gazette every Friday of the mid-month.
I'd like us to walk through this a little slowly.
Yes.
There is a contract with these, what are they called again?
Independent power producers using diesel.
Okay, exactly. Now, our contract, you're saying among the things that it states is that we will supply them with the fuel.
Yes.
What they did was they brought this huge generator.
Yes.
Now, do we pay them anything else beyond paying for the fuel?
Yes, we do, because they signed a contract between Kenya Power and them in purchasing power, in purchasing energy. So assume they are buying 4 shillings per kilowatt hour. Okay. Now, if they are paying 4 shillings per kilowatt hour, that is a contract for 20 years. But then they agree that that cost of 4 shillings will be borne by Kenya Power in the main tariff. It's called the base tariff. Yeah, Kenya Power will be paying that because it's part of the power. It's part of the purchase.
They are producing the power
to sell to Kenya
and they're
Power.
using our diesel, which we are giving them to produce this power.
Yeah, that has to be paid separately. And
I've understood that
yes.
one. I've understood. We are paying the fuel that produces the power. We pay for.
Yes, we pay.
Okay.
Yes.
Then they sell to Kenya Power.
Yes.
The power that is produced by using our diesel.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Aha. So we pay them twice.
Let me say we pay them twice, but the first one is paid by Kenya Power. The 4 shillings, let me assume, the 4 shillings is paid by Kenya Power. But you see now this diesel has come and is going to cost 60 shillings per kilowatt hour. That we pay directly to them. And in fact, it's not Kenya Power that receive that money. It's not Rabai, for example, that we receive that money. It will be now the people who have supplied that diesel to Rabai. And who is that? You will never know them. Because they are the people who have hidden, they are the people who will never make that line be completed because they need to keep on supplying that 1.3 billion.
Does that
to
inflate
Mombasa.
what we pay then?
Of course. Of course.
And that's why it's skyrocketing.
Yes. Because now,
yeah.
last month, the fuel cost charge or fuel energy charge was 3.57 shillings. Now, out of 3.57, 2.64 was taken by Rabai and Kipevu 3. So if they were not there, if we had connected them to our carrier, we would have paid 0.93 shillings per kilowatt hour. Now, do you know what that difference means? It means you have, for every 1,000, you would have had 4 additional tokens. If you normally get 35 tokens, for 1,000, you would have gotten 39. That is what it means. Now, and that is the reason I normally ask myself. Of course, we understand that Chemo seat and those other lines that are supposed to be done, they are important in stabilizing. But when you come to getting to the pockets of Kenyans, the priority would have been to start with that line.
Isaac, stop.
Yes.
Just for a little while.
Yes.
The power stations you've mentioned that were brought in to stabilize.
Yes.
What do you mean?
For example, we had Muhoroni gas turbine.
Yes, that's
Muhoroni gas turbine had, in fact, the contract ended after 30 years. Yes. After 20 years, sorry.
It has ended.
And of course, it has never ended because sometimes it's taken from Garissa, it's brought to Mbakasi, then it's taken to Muhoroni. Okay, it ended after 20 years. After when they stopped it, we started having a problem of destabilization and line balancing, and we used to say Marani, Turkana and all that. We knew that it was Muhoroni, that those lines, it was not able to stabilize, because when you produce power locally, you are able to serve that area, because remember the switching is even in Mbakasi, I think. Okay, so now when you are doing the switching for the whole country and balancing, it became a problem to know how much power is required now in that region, now that we have stopped Muhoroni gas turbine. And we were not saying even that we bring it back.
But did the demand for power go down? I mean, if this is the demand,
yes,
and we're talking about demand for power,
yes,
is there any way it goes down? I thought this demand goes up because we have a growing population, and it's a necessary commodity that people need. And since we know our economic growth and we have a pattern of demands for electricity, like now the demands are probably going to increase because of this season. Are we saying that we had not anticipated this, so that when you now stop this particular transmission or this particular production, does it not stand to reason that automatically there will be a shortage?
No, actually, we dispatch power to that area, okay? The problem has been the line to feed power to that area. So as a result, we were producing that power locally there at Muhoroni. So when you stop, you have to find, how do I now get power now that I have stopped this plant? Now, in the process of stopping, there was an issue of balancing those lines on whether they have the capacity to feed if we stop the Muhoroni gas turbine. But nevertheless, in fact, that Muhoroni gas turbine has been brought back. Last month, it generated quite a bit of power. And we already had a problem with that because, one, remember, the report that was tabled in Parliament is the one that was trying to suggest that we lift off the moratorium that was put. But now, you see, Muhoroni gas turbine even started producing before even that report was tabled. Number two, that report has not even been adopted for it to be effected. So what does that mean? That for you to bring back such a plant, you should have consulted the public. Because those are the problems we are having.
Were we consulted and you were bringing them in?
You may not know because maybe you were too young that time or you didn't know. But the constitution had not established that or provided for that. Yes.
We were not young at the same time.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. Of course. But now what we are saying is these are things that have been decided on our behalf without us being consulted. But we are not saying it's a bad thing. I am not even complaining because Muhoroni gas turbine is actually having just less than, in fact, is a cent if you look at it. But what really is ailing us has been the coast region. But they have not prioritized that line or even that substation. I was there last week.
Do we have a line?
We do have a line that was being constructed.
Has it been completed?
That is the progress that I am not sure of. But what I know is, last week I was in Rabai, the generating station itself, the power plant. I sat with the management and I was telling them that you are one of the people who we are complaining about. They said, actually, we don't even have any intention to produce a lot of power. In fact, if we are told, the best thing is we produce a little like Triumph power and Thika power around Nairobi. Because the more we are producing, the more our machines are wearing out. And remember, the only bit that comes is Kenyans will complain because we are consuming a lot of fuel. But that fuel is not paid to us. We are only paid on the contract between us and Kenya Power. So them is passed through. They only collect on behalf of the oil marketing companies. So now, what this investigation in power did not establish, much as they did a good job, they should have established who are the people who supply this power, this diesel to this plant. Because those are the people who will not have any motivation for them to produce less power, for a buy to be shut down. Those are the people who will not agree. But remember,
so long as these power producers are working at full throttle,
yes,
they will consume a lot of fuel.
Yes, and these people...
So for them, it's good business.
It's good business. It's not good business for a buy. It's good business for the people supplying fuel. And remember, even during the procurement of this fuel, do you know, as we are, like now, for example, last month, the fuel for a buy was, we were buying fuel for a buy at 88.4. Okay?
This diesel?
This diesel, packaging. Okay? 84. Let me tell you how much we were buying for Kiunga. 278 shillings. Okay?
278.
Do you know where Kiunga is?
Somali-Kenya border.
If you have been given a contract to supply power to Ghana, you buy it at 88 shillings. I'm sure even at 150 you'll have made your profit, isn't it? Even if you are to supply to Ghana. But not, just tell me Kiunga is 278.
Yeah, they will tell you it's bandit prone.
Well, you can fly the fuel in.
They'll still say it has to be. You just said, you mentioned something earlier about the coast hasn't been prioritized. Did you say something like that?
Yeah, the coast has not been prioritized in terms of transmission.
Right.
Yes.
And why is that? And how does that how does that also cause a barrier and the ripple effect?
Okay, now, let's assume Dennis is the one supplying fuel. 2, Kipevu 3, and Rabai. Fuel of 1.3 billion in a month. Then, City wants to do a line from Isinya to Mombasa so that Rabai will not be producing a lot of power.
Okay.
Of course, Dennis will complain that, and if you don't know Dennis, because we don't know those people who actually supply fuel there, you will not know what Dennis is telling City, that stop doing this line or delay this line. Those are the politics around power. You get? They will never find a motivation for that line to be done because it's going to discontinue the 1.3 billion in a month.
Now, Isaac.
Yes.
You have mentioned in terms of Kipevu 3 and Rabai
yes,
that use diesel, that
yes,
Kenyans pay for it to generate power.
Yes.
And let's digress a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's try make these understandable to Kenyans.
Okay.
Using geothermal power that we have and hydro power that we have in this country, are we able to supply power from these stations to Kenyans at an affordable rate?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. In fact, let me even say something that people have never understood, but it should be clear this way. There is the negotiation between Kenya Power and the people generating power, and they agree that we are going to be buying your power at 4 shillings or 7 shillings or anything. That is their business. We have not come in. Much as Kenya Power is a public company. Okay? At that point, they have negotiated for a tariff that we approved, or it was gazetted in April of 2023. Okay? That we have no problem. because we could have fought our battle during that time. And we actually even went to court complaining about it. Now, the issue is, when there are other these pass-through costs, and you even saw the Musyoka report talked of that those pass-through costs is where theft is. And it should be investigated by the Auditor General. Because they also saw the reason as to why they think there's a lot of billions playing around there. But now, what was locked between Kenya Power and purchasing power from the producers, they locked that for the next 3 years, and we may have nothing much to do about it. But now, we are also complaining because, again, there are some plans. Remember, I have always told City, we sign contracts on take or pay. You know what that means? That whether, if I am Rabbi, I am selling power to you at 4 shillings. And I will be supplying you power of about 88 megawatt. Whether you buy that power or you don't buy that power, you have to pay for the 88 megawatt. But there is no problem because that is Kenya Power's deal with them. Problem comes in when you now say we have produced 55 or 60, but now this fuel is what you need to pay us because we have used that. That is now when you reach to the Kenyans' pockets because that now goes beyond the contract that Kenya Power signed because they didn't agree on the fuel. So they pass through the fuel. And because it varies monthly, they get a leeway to overstate that value. For example, now, last month, according to what even the parliament was saying, there is a certain defined formula for calculating the fuel cost charge. It was supposed to be 2.88 shillings. 2.88 shillings. Now, they charged 3.57 shillings.
What is the 2.88 shillings based on?
It's based on a formula calculating. You take all this.
Who determines the formula? And what are the components of this particular formula?
Good. Now, the person who gazetted this formula is EPRA. Okay? This formula is not just gazetting it, but it was decided long time ago that is the best formula. And it has been used for a long time.
Is it the best?
Is it the best?
It is the best. Okay. But now it's not being used because we are collecting. Like, for example, last month we collected a whole 687 million over that formula. 687 million.
Shillings?
Yes, shilling.
We collected?
Yes, it was over-collected because we were supposed to be charged 2.87 shillings.
Over-collected.
We were charged 3.57. If you multiply by the units generated of around 1.2 billion kilowatt, those tokens you buy. You buy 5, others buy 100. Every month, they normally generate around 1.2 billion. Yeah. So even if you talk about a cent, because we are talking about an over-collection of 0.7 shillings, if you multiply by those units, that's coming to 687 million.
All right. Let's take a short commercial break. When we come back, take us through solutions with regard to these power tariffs. Because I don't know about we are paying for fuel to generate power, then buy power, and again, after this short commercial break.
Thank you. All right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Here is a look at your weather forecasts in Nairobi, beyond, in different parts of the world. Let us start here in Mvita, Kenya. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. Some really warm temperatures there. Nyeri, though, we have highs of 26, lows of 13. So experience some pretty chilled evenings over there. Nakuru, highs of 27, lows of 13. And let's move further beyond Lagos, Nigeria. Highs of 34, lows of 25 degrees. We have Paris, France, 11 degrees, lows of 7. They are deep in winter over there. And then we can look at London, United Kingdom, highs there of 12 degrees and lows of 8. That's a look at your weather forecast.
You know, Dennis keeps pointing at me every time they mention traffic. Okay, Dennis, I've got the message. Right. Did I not just mention traffic just a few minutes ago? Well, let me mention again. Not much has changed, okay? It'll change when you get to 9. So, unless you experience something that we can't see, let me just caution you and ask you to drive safely, to be considerate, and to get to your destination safely. If you're driving out of Nairobi, once again, please, I know the roads are good. Drive carefully, drive slowly. The point is to get there, not to fly there. So be cautious, be careful, and have a good day.
And And you are listening to SpiceFM. It is 30 minutes after 8 a.m. And yes, indeed, we are continuing here with conversations to do with the power tariffs in the country and investigating why the power prices in the country is high, why you continue to pay power bills, and trying to just sift through that and understand why that is happening. We have engineer Isaac Ndereva. We shall be having that conversation. But City, now, today we're doing these a little bit different, yeah?
Yes.
Because Isaac is here and he's mentioned something to do with powers and all that. The proverb of the day, City.
Yes. We are in the Republic of Angola. Okay, it's a Lusophone country. A real journey begins in old age.
Oh. I think that's true. It is, you say it starts or begins?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, you know you can't begin a car.
Yes, you can begin starting it.
You can begin starting it.
Okay. So I think that is true. It begins at old age because we've seen many people who have come to learn their lesson when they are quite old. But again, I will say it almost resembles the one that says life starts at 40. I don't know whether that's a saying or is an American something. But when they say life starts at 40, it's because mostly in the US, you just work from 25 years, you work for 15 years, and then you earn 3/4 of your salary the rest of your life. So that's the time you come to Kenya, you start living in Diani. When you're 40, you start riding bikes, you start climbing mountains, and then we start wondering, how do you earn your money? Yeah. But it's life that has started at 40. But in Kenya, of course, it starts at around 50. When you realize you're almost retiring, you start building a house, you start taking mortgages around that time. But of course, yes, it starts at old age.
But it doesn't only start when you have all those things you can do. Mm-hmm. I think life starts at 40 is also about the fact that you know yourself better than you did before. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what you're doing, you're not waiting for permission.
Yes.
You're living your life authentically true to you. So there's the one part about the materialistic elements, but most of it, they say life starts at 40 because it really does. It means whatever dream you're pursuing, you can pursue. Whatever thoughts you have around economy, around politics, around relationships, you're in your agency. That's how I take it. It starts at 40.
And in that case, then we'll have a very complicated life because if you will have to do without consulting, it is at that time that people are having a very high divorce rate because they think
you can still consult. You can consult, but you can trust yourself more as you get older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we've remixed City's quote.
Well, I'm listening to these old people talking.
These old people. A baraza of old people.
Yeah, well, what I've picked from what Janet has said is once you get to 40, you're not asking for permissions, and a young guy would say YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah.
You know, and City. Now, it is the City. Why are you smiling while looking at me?
You talk about permissions as though these young people ask, who do they ask permission from? They just get on with their lives.
Yeah.
Yes, anyway.
Please. Yes, the Christmas season is here.
Well, the Christmas, if you're going to be in Nairobi, look at it this way. There's Christmas and then there's Christmas at Sarit. Sarit, your city. Now, why is that so? Because you see, Sarit more or less presents you the dazzling world of magic. Now, what is magic? Magic is a make-believe situation where there's lighting. There's a display of all manner of things, all under one roof. And all you need to do is take yourself there and walk around and see. But this year they've added a little spice to this entire process. They've brought in Africa's first ever light the world giving machines, starting from November. This process will go on up to January, 15th. So November was last month. We are now in December. But we'll also go into January. So you have time. Even if you do not wish to buy anything, just go there, take a walk, look, see. It's called retail therapy. Just the process of looking at things, perhaps wishing a little bit. And then remember also, there's a Maasai market every weekend. Thursdays, Wednesdays, and then there's a kids' corner. So it's everything for everybody. But you won't believe me unless you actually go there and see this for yourself. So Sarit wishes everyone who is listening and those who will listen later a very happy holiday. Yes.
And City, over 1 million Kenyans enter into the job market every year.
They most certainly do. Yes.
And with this, it is a concern for not only the government, but parents and all the stakeholders concerned. But here we have a partner, KCB, who is coming in to ensure that these young people have a fallback plan. There are jobs that they are getting into, their skills are being improved. And this is through the Tuji Ajiri platform.
Yes. You see, this is one of those not just innovative, but extremely progressive partnerships that you come across rarely. Now, KCB looks at combining vocational skills training, business development training, and access to finance and business mentorship. It's all in one package. Meaning, here you are, you've acquired a skill. Now, to fine-tune it, to make it marketable, they're saying, we will afford this. And KCB does this with existing institutions, and it also works with the county governments. And just so that you understand that whatever it is you want to go about as your business will work, they will ensure that the equipment that you will need to jumpstart it and to get it on the road is given and provided for you. If there's finances you need to operationalize your outfit, they will ensure that this is also provided for you. So the tujiajiri means they give you the wherewithal to employ yourself so that hopefully with the time you'll also be able to employ others and provide a much needed service within your community. But that will be after you've adequately been trained and you're able to do the very thing that you said you wanted to do. That is the Tujiajiri program.
KCB Tujiajiri program.
Yes,
and
by KCB.
By KCB.
Yes.
Yeah, and to just communicate with them, you go to kcbgroup.com/foundation and you will get all the information there. Now, Isaac.
Yeah.
Before we went on break now, we were talking about the power that we consume in this country. We know about the power producers using thermal energy to produce power. But I ask a question. Is the government of Kenya able to supply cheaper electricity to Kenyans using hydro and geothermal resources that we have in this country? And if we can, why is it not a priority?
Thank you, Dennis. The government, if it wants, you see, we have harnessed less than 1,000 megawatts of geothermal in the country. We have a capacity of around 10,000. If we need the geothermal, we can get 10,000, but we have only gotten 1,000. What does that mean? That actually, those other sources we are even trying to mix people will say, or this would say, experts or in the sector who wants us to believe that geothermal it's called what? Flexible. Because they say it's only providing baseload. Because there is no technology to provide flexible in terms of if we want to switch on in the next 1 hour and switch off. That is the flexibility I'm talking about. That is possible. I've been in the US severally this year. And I have always been checking that how are those ways of ensuring that we can have flexibility in geothermal? And we found many. And even if it is actually the base load we are talking about, geothermal only provides around 40% in the country. Can't we even push it to 70%? And that will get rid of the diesel plants we have in the country. Leave alone the ones that are off-grid, because some of them like Kiunga and Mantera, some of them we may not be able to provide power from geothermal because they are a bit far and transmission lines will be too expensive, yet they only consume about 100,000 per town. 100,000 Kenya shillings. So those may not be very viable. But nevertheless, we are also paying for them as consumers, because even you are paying for the diesel in Mandela. So if we are not talking about those ones, we are talking about the ones that are taking 74% of our money in fuel cost charge. We would have done the transmission from Orkaria or from Isinya, because Isinya has Orkaria. We do that line, and then we complete. When I was in Mariakani last week, I went to that substation, and it looked like nobody is thinking about it. I think priority is being done to do Chemosit line at a cost of 257 million per kilometer, as opposed to even what Ketraco.
257 million shillings
per kilometer. And yet, Ketraco has been doing at 36 million per kilometer. And never mind, they even budgeted for the next 10 years. They had budgeted that they will be doing at 57 million per kilometer. We were already complaining that there is corruption budgeted in it, but someone else comes with the 257 shillings per kilometer.
May I just ask who it is who's been given this contract to supply this line?
Well, it was mentioned. It was mentioned that it was Adani, although it was stopped.
Mentioned.
Yeah, because we found our own way to go to court and it was stopped. But we were stopping it because we thought that was not priority. Priority would have been to do the Mombasa. Remember, even when we would have done at 257 million per kilometer, that would have come to our bills on the base load, because they would have added like 2 shillings. Why are they doing it? So that they get rid of the Muhoroni gas turbine. It's better to live with Muhoroni gas turbine than do a line we will pay for 30 years like 2 shillings. I mean, and it is actually, that is too much. That was only 372 kilometers. We should have prioritized the 500 kilometers to Mombasa, and then we reduced like 3 shillings on our bills. That could have made sense. And even if that was done, there was public participation on that deal of Chemosit and the rest. And we were even called in the public participation. But regardless of what you will say as a Kenyan, you'll just be taken photos. I was brought on TV that I have been in the CS, but they did not even bring what I said. And as a result, it was passed, and they said, oh, even the consumers have agreed to this thing. We can see the leaders there. But that is, we had actually been opposing that line. And even when we went around and teamed up with other people to go to court to stop it, it's because we had seen that 257 million per kilometer cannot be a cost of doing one line. And then it has been done with around less than 40 million per kilometer by Ketraco. Why don't we let Ketraco continue with that job? I mean, it was not fair. And so even if I had the president in Kilifi say, during the trade fair, I think in Kilifi County, he said those things must be done.
It was an investment conference.
Yes, I had even gone to Kilifi just a week before in preparation for the same, but I didn't attend the conference. But I heard him say, and I was very worried. He said, those things must be done. Even the airport must be done. We are not refusing, it should be done. The challenge is at what cost? Because even if we bring that deal of the Chemosit line and the rest, if it is going to be done at 257 million shillings per kilometer, it doesn't matter who is doing it, whether it's Adani or whether it's whoever. What we are refusing, it's not the person. I know the US brought up the issue of the person, but what we are refusing as the citizens is not the person. We are refusing the deal itself, the cost per kilometer, and whether that is priority for the country.
In the early hour, we're talking about people whose line of business is in real estate. And one of the things they said was checking the background, doing a thorough background check of the person who does this work. And I did a little background check. And I looked at people who are in that line of work. You determine what they can do by the number of miles they have done that work in and where they have done it. And if somebody says they have done 5,000, you'll find someone who's done 100,000. Now, if I was to look for someone, I'd go for this 100,000 because this person has done this thing longer and they probably understand it better. Now, see, those are the things that perhaps when we were involved in public participation, people didn't ask or were not given an opportunity to ask. And same goes with cost, because when you look at those who do that line of work, you're even told what they cost. The details actually provided for you, so you can actually read and you can understand.
We were given a chance. Yes. We were given a chance at Kawi House. Yes. We were given a chance, but that was because what we said is, and we asked, we understand that we are supposed to be funding. In fact, they didn't mention that we are supposed to be funding as consumers. It's us who asked that this, why you are calling us is because you need some money from our pockets at the end of the day. But then, let us ask you two questions. One, you are going to include this in the tariff in the coming years. Why is it not EPRA doing this public participation? Because they are supposed to be asking us, we want to do this line and it's going to cost you this money. Do you think it is? It's possible. But you see, Ketraco are the ones who are doing. Yet they will not be the ones who will be recovering money from us. It is EPRA and Kenya Power. Number two, we also asked them, there's no way you can be taking about 3 billion Kenya shillings per month of our money through taxes in Kenya Power bills. And that money you cannot divert a little to go and do those lines. Why do you have to call someone else? Why do you take money for bills and then you give to the counties? Yet there should be a way in which this tax collected from electricity should only assist the government in doing electricity project. And not going to other things, then we start borrowing for the one for electricity. 3 billion is a lot of money per month.
So what happens now? Maybe I'm jumping the gun. I'm very solutions oriented because sometimes we have these conversations and it almost feels like, what are we supposed to do with this information? Yet we're feeling the pinch, the way you've said. This year, the electricity bills have been ridiculous. And I think it's been felt everywhere. So you're talking about the politics and corruption, if we're to just put it out there. So what now, what next? For the person listening, watching, solutions. What happens now?
Good. Now, first of all, I think we are in the right direction. Because number one, we had left these decisions to be made by the parliament and other people. But now, among the very big forces that have come are the civil society organizations. And our civil society organization, which is the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya, has decided to step ahead and come and front its own opinion on discussions in matters electricity. And we will not be waiting for the people to decide or the CS. Number two, now that we have put out the solutions, even in the parliamentary report, we are waiting to see how it will be implemented and waiting to see who are the people who will say that that report is not good and should be thrown away.
In that report, have you requested for the anonymous suppliers to be revealed?
No, and unfortunately, we were just a party who are invited for discussion. But the people who are making a decision on who need to be invited only went to the last bit of calling the owners or looking at the ownership of the independent power producers. Why? Because they did not know that those are not the people who are benefiting from the fuel cost. It should be the oil marketing companies. But then maybe there was a disclosure for the IPPs using diesel, not to say that this fuel is paid to who, because that would have been the next step. But after that, because procurement is normally done after some time, every time. And you see, if you are in government and you need to be given a contract, the first thing you'll be told is go and take fuel to Kiunga at 278 shillings. Buy it in Mombasa at 88 and you get a profit. That should have been the first step to investigate. But now that we are here and Janet is asking, where do we need to go from here? Number one, we are supposed to get drilling of more geothermal wells. Once we get that power, then we dispatch it to Isinya. Then from Isinya, we take it to Mombasa, and the Mariakani substation should be done so that we can offload Rabai. They are also not happy to produce a lot of power as Rabai because, as I told you, whether they produce or they don't produce, they are paid. So you would want not to produce, isn't it? And then, even if you produce a lot, the fuel used is not you being paid. You have to collect on behalf of someone and you don't even get a cent.
And you're still paid the same amount of money.
So you will still be paid. So they are not happy to produce a lot of it, and we were made to understand that. So even the people who are around Nairobi with Trans Power and Iber Africa who are not producing, they are good because they are not busy and they are still earning their money because they have been leased that whether we buy power from them or we don't buy, they will still be paid. So when you give them a lot of work of producing, they are not happy. Now, remember here, Rabai will be happy, Kipevu 3 will be happy, Kenyans will be happy. Who is this who is not happy? It is the oil marketing companies. So who are these oil marketing companies? And those are the people who will not reveal themselves. So the first thing is to say that first, we deny Rabai and those other people in a generation. Then we see who is going to cry. Because sometimes that is the best way. Then you realize, who is this complaining? That is the person who has been benefiting. But then, lastly, we need to say that even when you are discussing about the cost of power, remember even Kenya Power themselves have discussed these contracts on the base tariff at a very high cost. Remember, they normally discuss that it's a take or pay. Now, they had a take or pay arrangement with Kipevu 1. They had a take or pay with Kipevu 3. They had a take or pay with other plants that have stopped. Now that they have stopped paying them, have they refunded the consumers that small saving? Or you'll just hear of Kenya Power has made a lot of profit. Who doesn't make profit when they have offloaded the suppliers and they have no problem? Who doesn't make profit? In fact, I was saying, Kenya Power did not make a profit. Kenya Power made a loss. Because all this, what they are declaring as profit, is actually the tariff that they almost doubled the previous year. So what happens? Well, can't you make a profit if you are doubling your sales? Without actually producing more, you have just doubled your cost. So those are the things that I'm saying. Kenya Power should also be able to offload some of the costs that they have saved from the retiring plants and give it to consumers. But they are not doing that. So in the base tariff negotiations, in this something called the pass-through cost, that is forex and the fuel costs and all those other things. Those are things that should be investigated monthly. And I know people do not know that they are normally gazetted every month. People normally realize that there is a change in fuel cost in the diesel and petrol. But remember, every Friday that is just before the mid-month, okay? Every Friday that is just before the mid-month, and it happened to be on 13th this month, you will get the price of the fuel cost charge, forex, and inflation on our Kenya Gazette, signed by EPRA Director General. Yeah.
Now, I think my final question would be, because we're running short of time, now is a question of the power that we consume in this country and the manner in which Kenyans are, all you meet is you're being slapped with the bill on your face, There is no explanation on this is what happened, these are the changes that are involved. All this information is so scanty. Do we experience a situation where maybe in the future, hopefully so, that public participation takes place, and not just public participation, meaningful public participation that involves each and everybody on the table?
Thank you. I think when you mentioned about public participation, sometimes I pity Kenyans because the bill that the act for public participation that we have currently is not involving, it's not committing, but we have a public participation bill that is quite very nice. But it is still a bill because they have never passed in the parliament. Why? I don't understand. Because also they have noted that because it says don't ask for public participation from a person who has not understood what you're asking. Because that is what the new bill says. But currently, we are using a bill that just says inform the public. So inform them. But because it also says that after the participation by the public, there is a certain percentage of their comment that must be implemented. But the current one, there is nothing committing that you must take anything the public has said. So you can just inform them, you take them photos, they sign, you give them a soda or lunch, and they leave, and you continue with what we were doing, provided you have the photos.
Is it about time that we had a competitor to Kenya Power and get rid of the monopoly?
No, I don't think. In fact, if we get a competitor to Kenya Power, we will not be able to push the government. Because remember, most of the bills that we have are actually subsidized. There is the domestic lifeline 1 and domestic lifeline 2. Those people are highly subsidized by the government. So if you bring another supplier, and then you will tell Kenya Power, now even those people you are assisting, stop assisting them. So you will realize that you are buying your power at 30 shillings, and yet there are people who are buying at 21. So it is very dangerous to start discussing about if we bring other people other than Kenya Power. And we saw there is a market bill on electricity market that we are trying to discuss, and it is such a dangerous
Why is it
proposal.
dangerous? I mean, we've run out of time, but nonetheless.
Yeah, we will still find some more time to come and discuss about it, because it is actually something that is talking about that we bring other suppliers and they start competing with the Kenya Power. But remember, if you quote several things, doesn't mean that the cheapest is the cheapest.
Let's bring you back.
Let's bring it another time.
All right.
Engineer Isaac Ndereva is Executive Director, Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya and Electricity Billing Analyst. It is 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm La Obaga. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, is recommending the prosecution of several high-profile individuals, including current and former public officials, over corruption and conflict of interest. In its third quarterly report for 2024, covering the period between July 1st and September 30th, the Anti-Graft Agency details investigations into counties and state officials, uncovering money trails and proxy companies used to siphon public funds. Former Wajir County Governor Muhammad Abdi, his wife and daughter are among those wanted for prosecution. The Kenya Medical Training College Chief Executive Officer Dr. Kelly Oluoch says the institute has in the past 2 years produced sufficient workforce to the market. Oluoch says this has sufficiently addressed the issue of dealing with the shortage of health workers in the country.
Kenya Medical Training College, in the recent graduation, graduated a total of 21,261 graduates. In the last year, the year preceding this graduation, we graduated 22,965. So it means that the institution is producing sufficient number of mid-level human resources for health. Actually, the institution produces over 85% of mid-level human resources for health for the country.
He adds that the medics have got an international market which has benefited the country economically and skillfully.
We also note that not all of them are absorbed in our counties or private sector, and therefore the surplus is what we prepare to be able to support other countries who are also struggling with human resource for health. Again, this is good for the country in that we are able to earn foreign exchange. Number two, when these health workers come back to our country after the period of service in other countries, they bring in new knowledge.
Still in matters of health, Principal Secretary for Medical Services Hari Kimtai has said the Ministry of Health is in the process of constituting a committee to review the Social Health Authority tariffs and benefits. In a statement, he said the committee will be expected to review and provide practical solutions and make informed recommendations based on feedback from stakeholders. The committee report will address both short and long-term interventions to ensure SHA sustainability and responsiveness to the needs of Kenyans. And in the corridors of court, a magistrate's court will today mention the 24 million graft case facing former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko after his acquittal was overturned by the High Court. Sonko suffered a major setback last week after Justice Nixon Sifuna set aside his acquittal in the corruption case. Sifuna said the case will be handled by a different magistrate other than the trial magistrate Douglas Ogoti. The new magistrate, he said, shall start by making a fresh ruling on the basis of the evidence that's already on the record on whether the accused persons have a case to answer. The then trial magistrate Douglas Ogoti acquitted Sonko, Anthony Mbok and ROG Security Limited in 2022 on the basis that the charge sheet presented by the DPP was defective. Moving on to the international scene, several hundreds people and possibly even thousands may have been killed when the most powerful cyclone in nearly a century hit the French Indian Ocean of Mayotte. According to a senior local French official, when asked about the death toll from Cyclone Chido, the French Interior Ministry said it will be difficult to account for all victims and a figure could not be determined at this stage. It was the strongest storm in more than 90 years to hit the islands, according to the forecaster. And finally, 7 foreigners in Fiji have been sent to hospital with suspected alcohol poisoning after reportedly drinking cocktails at a 5-star resort bar. 4 are Australian tourists aged between 18 and 56. 1 is an American. 2 are foreigners living in Fiji, according to local media reports citing the health ministry. Some were previously reported to be seriously ill, but local officials say their symptoms have since improved and all are now in stable condition. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Is it not? Yes, it is. It is 9. And the traffic on our roads in Nairobi have increased. Now, if you're on the road, you will know that what I'm saying is true. If you're on Mombasa Road, yes, you will know that there's that section just before GM on your way to Nairobi that has a bit of a problem. If you are on Thika Superhighway, yes, the traffic is definitely increasing. Those who want to come to town, keep coming. If you are not in a hurry, around 10:30, the traffic will have reduced significantly, so you'll be fine. But you want to be careful around roundabouts. You want to be careful as you enter town, whether you are going into town through Wangari Maathai Road, whether you are on Wayaki Way, whether you are in James Gishuru Road. All these roads that lead to town and go into the busy parts of the city will have traffic. So please be careful. It is the season for happiness and joy, but it's also a season for safety. So be safe out there.
It is 10 minutes after 9 a.m. and in studio with us is Patrick Analo, Chief Officer, Urban Development and Planning, Nairobi City. And we just shall be having a discussion around protecting construction developers now, the challenges and the role of key regulators over the same. Karibu sana, Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Discussion and City.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about matters to do with unemployment in the country, it is a problem that continues to exist and portray itself in the country.
It does.
And but we have a partner, KCB, who has made changes among the young people in making sure that they improve on their skill and that they get into these employment spaces ready for the market.
You know, actually, KCB understands this very well because over 1 million people, and they are predominantly young, enter the job market. And some of them don't really have the wherewithal to actually get to do something meaningful that has a value add to it. Some have dropped out of school for whatever reasons. Some have acquired some skills, but the skills are inadequate. Now, in 2016, the KCB Foundation decided that, you know something, we need to do something about this. And they started looking at people who are between the age of 18 and 34, and they said, this is an age set where we can actually inject some professionalism and get them to be able to move out of this vortex of always looking for jobs that aren't there and essentially being what you call a manual laborer. And they began and are continuing to help build the capacity for people in the manufacturing industry, beauty and personal care, domestic care, automotive, creative economy, ICT, sustainable agriculture, climate change initiatives, as well as health. These are all the areas where they have been providing assistance. Now, to give you some statistics, okay? We are talking about since its inception, what it has done, it has created 150,555 jobs. It has also trained 35,195 young people. It has incubated 10,954 young people. And in terms of disbursing finances for the businesses that are begun by these young people, they have been able to support all these young people to the tune of 267 million Kenya shillings. They have issued 2,225 startup toolkits, meaning if you are into masonry, there's that thing that looks like a big spoon, and those are the things that they use for building. All those things. If you are into automotive care, a toolbox that will enable you to do the work. And they've trained 6,535 business on finance planning. This usually is a problem. Somebody believes that doing a business is all you need to know. No. You do need to know what to do with the money when you get it and how to ensure that the business as an entity continues growing. These are the things that the KCB to Ajiri program has been involved in. Ensuring that the youth in this country not only have a helping hand, but they have a partner who walks with them through the processes of developing their careers.
And that is all about KCB. And just to get to them, you go to kcbgroup.com/foundation, and all the information there you will get. And yes, indeed, /foundation. You know, it happens. Yeah, Kinshasa.
Yes, brother from Migori.
Kinshasa. Say it several times, really quick. 1, 2, 3, go. No, it's fine.
Yeah, Kinshasa. But it is allowed, yeah?
It is allowed.
Now, City as well now. Patrick Analo would want to know what the proverb of the week is.
Yes, Patrick, thank you for coming. Patrick has been with us before, and he's always welcome because he gives us an opportunity to actually understand how this wonderful and grand county of Nairobi works. Okay? Janet, feel free to ask him all those questions you've wanted to ask and you've never had anybody to ask.
This is the moment.
This is your moment. Take advantage. And he's sitting next to you. Yeah. Take advantage of it fully.
I will.
Okay, let's remind him that is the hot seat.
This is the hot seat of the Situation Room. But he is equal to the task. The proverb from the Republic of Angola. A real journey begins in old age. That's a proverb. I'd like you to tell me your take on it.
The real journey begins
in old age.
Yes. One interpretation is that experience matters. I think as you grow old, you gain more experience, and So basically, you get to do things better.
City, old age,
yes,
do better.
Well, as somebody who is not in his first youth, I will tell you this. The one thing that I have found as I've gotten older is I still make mistakes. Yes. But I bounce back a lot easier because I accept my mistakes. I'm able to look and say, yes, I made a mistake, and I'm even able to state that I've made a mistake. And I'm also able to ask for forgiveness where I've wronged, where previously I would not. Certain things would not escape my mouth. But now I can. Yes.
But Titi, you see, there is someone who is not making mistakes on the kind of drinks that we have on a daily basis.
True, there are people who they get it right. You see, there's this whole concept of libation, and when people think of the word sherehe in Kenya, what they think of is consuming beverages that have either been fermented or distilled, and which have mind-altering substances. There are some that don't just alter your mind, they all alter your health, but in the most positive way. And some of these are a concoction of what you would call, should we say, magical. Someone takes a fruit, genuine, real fruit, and converts it into something drinkable. You know, Del Monte in Kenya, people say they've been there for X number of years. They've been in this business for something like around 125 years. They've been around for quite some time. And in that time, that's what they've been doing. They've been taking fruit and making it liquid so that you can actually drink your fruit. Now, why am I saying this? Because there are no additives. There is no sugar added. There are no preservatives. It is as it is, except it is in liquid form. Now, we have a guest here whom I'm going to bequeath a gift so that when he leaves here, and he will say, the people in the situation don't just talk about these things. They actually give you a taste of what it is that they're saying.
Wow. Christmas has come early.
Christmas has come early.
This is
wonderful.
Yeah.
This is the experience of old age.
Oh, you heard the bones creaking when I was bending.
No, not even.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All this is yours.
That is yours. Yes. You will enjoy, and then you will call me and give me the feedback.
Oh, yes.
But don't eat it alone. In fact, if I were you, I'd pass by home first before going to the office. Because if you go to the office, these things will not
it will be cleared.
Yes.
I'll leave it in the car.
Yes.
That's my choice.
Now, Patrick.
Yes.
The construction industry in this country continues to face a myriad of challenges, from what you'd say, taxes involved, the entire process into the construction industry. And it is through that a lot of people have cut corners just so they can put up their buildings. You know, you go to some areas in this Nairobi as we speak right now, an apartment above 5 floors should have an elevator, but some have 8. No elevator. So as we talk about protecting construction developers in this country, what is the challenge in all these developers just making sure that they do it right as expected as per the law and the rules of Nairobi?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for me to really put this into context, allow me to share with you some statistics. Yeah, the Architectural Association of Kenya, which is a body, comprising of architects and other professionals within the built environment, released their report last week concerning the state of construction industry in our country. And particularly for Nairobi, the report indicated, which is factual, we had approvals of 1,761 buildings to be constructed within Nairobi. Worth the investment cost is worth 272 billion Kenya shillings, and revenue generated to the county of Nairobi is 1.6 billion. In terms of opportunities, these buildings are going to create employment to about 3 million people within this city, not to mention the cost of material for construction and other commodities. But here we are just talking about buildings which have been submitted, processed and approved in accordance with the laid down laws. But as you mentioned, we also have structures outside there which have been implemented without necessary approvals, and particularly this is in the areas of the city that are informal, where there are no title deeds. The eastlands part of the city, like a section of Tasia, which is an NSSF land, which was invaded in 1992. Up to now, NSSF has not completed, the process of formalizing the ownership of that land. So there are two levels of complaints in terms of developers who feel, they are either harassed or the fees and charges are high. Talking about the fees and charges, I think this is something that happens every year. The fees are reviewed as part of the finance bill, and I think this is something Governor Sakaja did. Nairobi City County has only had one gazetted finance bill since 2013 when we became a county government. The second one is the 2023 finance bill. Basically, a finance bill is a rigorous process. I'm sure we now have a history of what happened earlier this year in our country. It's a very rigorous process in terms of public participation. And this is something we tried to do, and we reviewed our fees and charges in terms of construction. But it was a very participatory process. But now the other issue is infiltration of construction sites by criminals who extort the developers. And in most cases, this happens where developers have not obtained all necessary documents. So you're not so sure of yourself or what you are doing. And then if somebody gets to know, because sometimes these guys collude with the site laborers, wanamwambia, boss anaile. So that's how criminals get in terms of infiltration. I was just speaking much earlier to your sister station about what are we doing as a county government. February next year, we are rolling out a digital staff identification card system that is going to be scannable from the QR code on your phone. If somebody visits your construction site and they say that they're from whatever department of the county government of Nairobi, you should be able to check their details from your phone. But that alone will not, address the issue of ease of doing business, because construction sites are also visited by national government agencies. We have the National Environmental Management Authority, the National Construction Authority, we have Water Regulatory Authority, among others. What we have proposed as the City County of Nairobi is a one-stop kind of like a platform. So that these agencies, if they need to do site inspections, let's say in Westlands, we agree together that we'll be going to Westlands, and let's go to a station at once. If you're visiting cities property, let see one team. This one will check lighting, the other guy will check a sewer connection, instead of having people Monday to Friday. Some people even tell us that they even get tired of receiving guests from government. This one comes and he says, I've come to check whether the place is fumigated against pests. The other one comes to check access. So that's what we are doing in city and Janet, I think you want to.
I just want to ask you, because you've mentioned several critical points. You've talked about infiltration of criminals. I think Dennis had started by asking, I don't know whether you asked about congestion. Maybe it's my mind that went to the congestion of the cities. But the point is, there's been sort of like an exponential issues that have arisen, whether it's the several storied buildings that are not inspected and that have many times sort of like crumbled down. Whatever drainage system, it just seems like the planning is, in many ways, it's just, it seems unsupervised. And then you've talked about these other few elements of infiltration. So who is dropping the ball where? Because it just seems like a lot of different gaps widening over time, simultaneously. And obviously the fear is that will continue to escalate. That even though you've talked about this critical sort of like digital system, there just seems to be a widening of several gaps that are affected. So let's go back to where that could have started happening and how somebody or a few people saw that and then continued to widen these gaps. Who is dropping the ball?
Yeah, so I think if I respond to that a little bit in a more comprehensive way. The city's construction sector has, tremendously evolved over the last 20 years, I would say, since the advent of, devolved system of government. Why am I saying that? Initially, if you recall, most of the constructions that were taking place in our city were being, facilitated by indigenous contractors, whose capacity in terms of modern investment was limited. And mostly there were Asian contractors or the indigenous Kenyans. But from 2013, we saw the entry of foreign investments in our city, with the heavy machinery and equipment, and this brought itself as an opportunity, but also as a challenge in terms of regulating the industry, because you are now going high, you are going down. You have this heavy machinery. How do you regulate? And that's how the National Construction Authority was brought in. Their work is to register contractors in terms of their qualifications, their competence. They also register staff personnel. In terms of artisan, the laborers, the engineers, we must make sure that they have the right qualifications. Then they also register projects. The National Environment Management Authority comes in terms of environmental issues, the management of wastewater at the site. Because sometimes when you hit the basement rock, you come across water. How do you dispose the waste soils and so on and so forth? The county's responsibility is mainly to approve. Mm-hmm. But what you are saying is that with all these players at a single construction site, there's still a lot of movement in terms of roles and duties and responsibilities. So that is not something that can be regulated in law. It requires administrative intervention, and that's what we are saying in the city of Nairobi. From February, we are coming up with a single approach in terms of supervision of construction sites. Dennis has raised the issue of lifts. The building code, indeed, of 1968, which has now been repealed to 2024 building code, require that any building that is beyond, from fifth floor, we must have lifts installed. We have now repealed that building code. We have a new building code that requires now, when structural engineering drawings are submitted, these are compulsory provisions and requirements that lifts must be installed in order for one to be allowed to proceed in terms of construction, to be cleared to move to the fifth floor. And that's why when you go to some construction sites now, you find they've even installed operational lifts for transporting of materials and stuff. This is to pilot the requirement to provide for more lifts above there. Janet has raised the issue of congestion. Of course, the city is growing. That's a discussion we've had here with city. The city is growing, and we must guide the city in terms of urban planning and development. We've had a challenge in terms of legal framework, Janet. Our zoning policy expired, or rather lapsed, in 2006. Between then and 2013, we came up with a Nairobi Integrated Development Urban Master Plan, which required then we have to formulate other sub-district or other low cadre plans. That is an effort that the county government tried to do in terms of during NMS period. It failed. This administration floated a development control bill at the County Assembly of Nairobi. A section of citizens of the city came out and said that the policy is not addressing the infrastructure issue city. I know you want to ask me where we moved after that. And I'm here.
That's not what I want to ask you.
I'm here. I know. I always know how to read your face. I'm here to report city, because last time I was here, this was a very hot question.
Yes,
city, by the mercies of God, who had seen how we had really struggled to have an up to modern framework. we got funding from the U.S. Congress through a program called Millennium Challenge Corporation, up to a tune of $60 billion in January.
60 what?
60 billion.
60 billion. Yes.
60
billion Kenya shillings. Yeah, yes, Kenya
Yes.
shillings.
Kenya
yeah.
shillings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can get that on the
Kenya shillings.
you wanted to join the county
No.
department.
I did though want to ask about the accountability process. Sorry if I interrupted.
Yeah, I'll
your
come
thoughts
to that.
and
I'll
came
come to
and
that.
City maybe had
So
it.
that money is going to help us do 3 programs. One, which we've already started, and January there will be a tender out to invite international consultancy for preparation of a citywide development control regulatory framework for the city of Nairobi, for the 20 zones.
We need outsiders to come and tell us this.
Well, this is money that has come from the US.
Is it tied to them bringing in their...
No. It's the tender is opened so that city you can apply. Somebody from Kigali can apply. Somebody from the east can apply. You can form a consortium. Of course, there will be requirements that you must. There are certain elements that you must have a local representation. Yeah, but it's an international tender, which I think for us is also good, so that we can draw competences in respective areas. And remember, it is also the second program within that funding is the GIS, because for you to have an ideal framework for management of development, it must be supported by an IT system. And so we'll be doing a GIS. The process of formulating terms of reference is currently underway. But for the development control policy, we finished the terms of reference. January, the consultants will be out. I think by around March, we should have started. That one is going to address the issues that residents of Kilimani had raised, which led to halting of the development control policy that we have submitted at the county assembly. The third program out of that funding is a commuter rail transport modernization plan for Makadara and Dandora. Some of the issues you've raised is the challenge of public transport. We cannot depend on the current model of transportation within the city of Nairobi, where you have the main means of transport is public as matatus, and it's privately owned. Government has no role in it. Look at the expressway. It's barely 3 years since it was completed and launched. It started experiencing congestion. And this is based on studies. Every new road you launch, about 5 years within the period of operationalization, it is congestion. Because once you do a new road, it alters the way people think and people relocate. And then within 5 years, so the most sustainable way of managing transport in this city is mass rapid transit, and that has to be an electric train. So that's the program that we'll be doing in Makadara and Dandora. Janet has asked about accountability. That money is signed between the government of Kenya and the U.S. government. There's a unit at the National Treasury called Kenya Millennium Development Fund, Program Management Unit. The funds will be transferred through that unit. The county government, which is a recipient of the funding, will only supervise the process. But appropriation and accountability will be done through the treasury. And I think that's how the program was designed, and it was signed by His Excellency the President and the Governor. We are very happy to have that arrangement so that we can focus on the critical issues of doing the three policies.
All right, Patrick. Let's take this break, but when we come back now, we want to talk about planning in Nairobi, and if at all that does exist, or is it just on paper?
Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Hello to those of you listening in. Here's a look at your weather update. In Kenya, we'll highlight a few cities, starting with Nairobi. Highs of 25 degrees, lows of 15. Kakamega, highs of 30, lows of 15 degrees. Let's also go to Nakuru Town, East Kenya. Highs of 27 degrees, lows of 13. Nyeri Town, currently 16 degrees. We'll expect highs of 26 and lows of 13. When we move outside East Africa, let's go to South Africa, Johannesburg, highs of 28, lows of 18. Elsewhere, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 31, lows of 26. And then when we go to places like London, United Kingdom, deep in winter, highs of 12, lows of 8. We also have Paris in France, highs of 11, lows of 7. That's a look at your weather forecast.
Don't worry, Dennis. I know I'm supposed to talk about traffic. Yes. Well, yes, it's beginning to clog up. If you look at the bypasses, you will find that, yes, there's a lot more traffic. There's a lot more traffic, actually, literally on every road that leads into the city and also moving out of the city. But today will not be as bad as it's going to be on Thursday and Friday, because when it gets to the weekend just before Christmas, there is a lot of movement. There are people who want to come into town to do some last-minute shopping. There are those who are planning to leave. There are those who are actually leaving. And oddly enough, there will also be those who are actually coming into Nairobi. But for today, the traffic is flowing, except for the areas that I mentioned. Mombasa Road, somewhere near GM. I'm talking about Haile Selassie. There's a bit of that road that is, there's a development that is there. I am told there is a tunnel that is being built. That is a long way from being completed. So we are going to have quite a snarl up now. Perhaps since we're going on holiday and there'll be fewer and fewer vehicles on the road, that may give them an opportunity to finish it. I hope they're not going on holiday, because if they do, and we start the new year, the problems will be exactly what they are now. Please drive cautiously, drive safely, and get to your destination. Have a lovely day.
It is 35 minutes after 9 a.m. and we are discussing matters to do with protecting construction developers and the challenges and role of key regulators. Now, Patrick, before we went on break, City wanted to ask you a question. City?
It's not one question.
Mm-hmm.
Several.
Yes.
You can ask a few now.
Let me start with the first one. Mm-hmm. If indeed whatever ordinances we had lapsed, so what exactly have we been using as a yardstick for the development that we see? And as you correctly put it, some individuals, some of them in this room who live in Kilimani, had those problems where you wake up one morning and you have neighbors who are living in the sky and they keep throwing things into your garden simply because it's like they figure the balcony overlooks this other place, so you might as well just chuck it there. How have we been determining what to build, where to build it, how to build it?
Yeah, I think City, I've responded to that question much earlier. And I want to combine it with what Dennis asked about the state of planning within the city of Nairobi. I like breaking down the state of planning within the city of Nairobi into about three tiers. There's the planning of the city before 1963. That's what the colonial period. I will not go into that. But basically, at that time, the focus of the planning of the city was on the white settled areas of the city, the Westlands district, the Karen district, the Kilimani district, and the Eastlands part of the city was ignored in terms of infrastructure and master planning for land use. Then there's a period after 1963 to date. 1963 to 1992. 1963 to 1992, planning within the city of Nairobi was being done by central government under the Ministry of Local Government and Kanu administration. One would say that planning was mainly centralized. The decisions would be made by the executive, the national executive, and the local authorities' role was mainly to implement. I think we started having challenges from 1992, especially disorder Dennis. It is from 1992 that the proliferation of slums and informal settlements it started being experienced because government literally abdicated its responsibility in terms of housing provision. Of course, this partly was contributed by the structural adjustment programs by the IMF on the Kenyan government then, and they told the government that you have no business in urban housing, leave it to the private sector.
You also have no business in owning houses.
You also have no business owning houses, leave it to the private sector. And so, the many people who used to depend on government houses for housing started resorting to living in slums. And that's why you had Kibera grow beyond the original Nubian population which settled there. That's how we lost Nairobi Dam. Apparently, there was a sailors' club there.
Yes.
This went on, and I think it's part of the push for a new constitution that counties planning to be devolved, certain government services to be pushed to local level in terms of planning. So then we have what happened from 2010 to date. That's another phase of planning. I said that in 2014, we completed Nairobi Integrated Urban Development Master Plan, which in it has 3 principles. One, it talks about the need to develop local district plans, and that would now be one of the plans for Kilimani, Kileleshwa, Karen, Langata, but also Eastland's part of the city, the Embakasis. That was not done because of budgetary constraints. The process would be, initiated by the technical wing of the county government, and when it goes to the county assembly, there will be no requisite budget allocation. But the most recent significant effort to try and create that those 5 plans was during the NMS period, when they floated about 5 proposals, city, for preparation of plans to guide localized decisions in terms of development control. The process went up to award of tenders, but we all know what happened after the elections. NMS was phased out, and that's how that collapsed. Now enter the Governor Sakaja's administration, which we are in now. I've reported here that we've started a new process, which in January, February will be going public in terms of inviting contractors to complete a new plan for the city of Nairobi. Back to your question, what has been guiding decisions? I think I'm on record having told you here that in 2013, when the administration of the late President Kibaki took over, there was a growth in terms of the middle income.
2013, they were exiting.
Yeah, 2002 years. Yes. There was a growth in terms of the middle class population for the city of Nairobi because the economy grew. That led to demand in terms of increase in housing for provision for the middle income. There was an executive order by the Minister of Local Government then that county government of... No, I think that was Muskari Kombo. That is the first Minister of Local Government. If not Muskari Kombo, Karisa Maitha. I had not joined the city county government.
In 2002?
Yes.
That was Karisa Maitha.
Yeah. Actually, factually, it is him who gave that. Yeah, and the focus was on areas. You see, now that directive could only be applied on areas where government had a mass ownership of land, and
he could do that because he had executive authority.
Yeah, executive authority in terms of planning. So he allowed for densification of Kilimani and Kileleshwa, and that's how the floors were raised without a requisite zoning policy. Because ideally, a zoning policy would have been prepared first, and then now you can be able to, to go vertical. But exercising the executive powers vested upon him, and city, I'm sure you're already in town around that time. You knew which kind of minister Mr. Karisa Maitha, the late Karisa Maitha was. He allowed the city.
He was nicknamed the Hurricane.
Yeah. So Janet, so that's how we started having those high levels in Kilimani, and mainly it was on discretion by the planning department then and the PS local government It was also based on project rationalization. Dennis, if you're an architect, you come and say you have half an acre, you think this can be done. So the technical people would look at all the necessary provisions in terms of evaluation of architectural drawings and grant, but there was no provision in terms of zoning policy. And that has gone on until presently, when you have this clamor that we cannot continue this way. We must have infrastructure in place. We must cap these things to a certain level, and that's the effort that we are trying to put in place in terms of preparing the new development control policy.
There's something I'd like you to explain, because this is something you understand well. When you plan and you have zoning policies, what is considered? Because as you say correctly, if you look at the various phases, in all the major towns, we had those phases. You live in a certain place, even the acreage that you're allowed to have is this. And the smallest component of it is this. What is it that forms, what are the principles that form these processes?
Yeah, thank you so much, City, for that question. And I was in court about 3 weeks ago. I had been invited in court as an expert to shed some light on what is a zoning policy, because the High Court High Court is deliberating on a certain matter that is touching on densities, and they wanted to know what is a zoning policy. One of the things about a zoning policy is it caps or it defines the levels in terms of height, but it also goes further and defines the minimum land holding. And that's where the catch might also come in, especially for those who are clamoring for height. But now, at that intersection between the land size, Dennis, and the height is the cost of investment. Because the currently half an acre of land in Kilimani goes for about 600 million Kenyan shillings.
Yes.
So the calculations in terms of investment, and I'm not saying that this is what informs a zoning policy, but it's some of the considerations you have to put in place in order to direct investment in a city. So it also looks at the land uses. You remember one of the things we've been fighting with is bus and clubs and those other things which people of the age of city sometimes visit to go and be stretched their bodies. The zoning policy also, I'm saying gymnastic.
I was like, stretch there, but is that a metaphor for something? But
no, I was talking about a gym.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Janet, it defines all that. It defines also like where do you locate kindergartens, places of worship in terms of mosques or temples and so on and so forth. So that's what our zoning policy is briefly.
Meaning, you're looking at the built-up area and you're looking at a population essentially.
Exactly.
And with the population comes certain amenities.
Yes.
Now, so in the absence of a zoning policy, these amenities just pop up as and well, and again, it's discretionary.
Yes.
That's what it has been.
Yeah.
So the word discretionary, in many ways, then led to what is spelled MESS, because
mess.
Yes, exactly. Because
not necessarily. I think the other thing which I need to also enlighten you as a profession in the built environment, zoning policy is implemented. Even if you have a zoning policy today, you cannot implement it without arrangement of other laws. City. It exists within the other laws, and you remember I talked to you about the various players that the developers are complaining are visiting sites, one after the other. So you implement a zoning policy against a backdrop of other government policies. If it's an amenity, for example, a school, there's a policy on educational facilities. You cannot just create, let's say, a school if you do not have requisite provisions for that kind of like facility. So a zoning policy has to sit within a group of other laws, city.
All right, Patrick. Let me just shoot.
But I think also before I go out of that, again, there have been critics of zoning policy. Dennis.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example.
That they understand it, or
let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of what I mean. As a city grows, let me give you an example of a city of Tokyo. You might have not been there, but you can check on the internet. Zoning policy thrives well in cities where you have, or in societies where you have vast areas of land, and so you have regions like between Nairobi and the next region. It's vast land, so you can actually say that. Let's say this is an industrial city. So most of the developments you find there are supporting that kind of arrangement. But our city, for example, the city of Nairobi, it has become so heterogeneous. Even Kilimani, for example, let me say, Janet, Kilimani is being traversed by heavily, occupied in terms of heavy traffic. Look at Ngong Road. Look at the ring road, Kilimani. Look at even Agins Kodak. So I think zoning policy will serve us maybe for the next about 30 or 50 years. But as we go beyond that, we may need to adopt a new tool for development control, which is common in cities that have been over 100 years and beyond.
Let me shoot, and then we follow up that with Janet, and then you'll just respond to all that. Now, you mentioned something about the planning in Nairobi ranging from the colonial period, and let's credit them. They're the ones who built the drainages in this city and all that. Those have remained like that.
They were building the drainage for themselves. There were 200,000 colonialists.
Today, over 60 years later, have we improved on that? Because we are having buildings going up. Governor Sakaja said the only way we can grow is going up. But are we equally, as we go up, population pressure in Nairobi, are we increasing the drainage that is there? If not, why? And as well, now there are buildings that in this city that are not in good conditions. They are cracking left, right, and center. What are you doing to that and the people who are living there in terms of evacuations? And as well, there are those who are going up, they're digging and disrupting other buildings on the side. What are we doing as Nairobi County and all the stakeholders in making sure that I don't want to go up, but don't interfere with my structure? Janet.
I don't know whether we give him a chance to speak to those, because I know time is going. In all of these conversations, there's always an element of lack of trust. Now, I know it sounds like I've completely gone and brought in, but these issues tend to be emotive because people do not feel like there is a consistent will for policies and implementation that caters for the public. So what I'm trying to say is everything that CT has asked, that Dennis has asked, everything you've spoken to, which somebody in the comments has said, you tend to articulate these matters really well. Somebody in the comments was like, yeah, you articulate. But there's still a lot of people, did I understand it wrong, that we can have an outsider design the city for us? Somebody else is saying, I'm concerned about informal settlements. Somebody else is saying, why they're not building these tall apartments in areas that still have space, like Karen and Runda. It's how we Kenyans ignore crucial sectors and departments that touch on our sovereignty that baffles me. So all of this to say, if we don't address the growing concern around lack of accountability, lack of trust. Finally, there's a quote here that says, the more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws.
Okay.
If we can speak to that, but at the end of the day, it's can people really trust that everything we're saying here, that everything you're projecting for February beyond is going to come to be? Otherwise, it just leaves an element of doubt, and I think it allows for the infiltration of the criminals and the overpopulation that we see, because people say nobody's checking anyway.
Yeah, so I think really a good discussion. In terms of accountability, this requirement is not just, something that has to be done because somebody thinks that we must have these plans in place. It's enshrined in the law. County governments under the CIDP are required to annually prepare plans, and one of those plans is the detailed area plans. What I would call the district plans. County governments also under the Physical and Land Use Planning Act are required to produce what you call a county spatial plan. And this county spatial plan then is broken down into projects, and those projects are funded. That's now when you customize in the budget. But let me bring another challenge, I think, which is important. That has been one of our greatest challenges, Dennis and Janet. So once we prepare all these programs, they must be funded. For example, let me say, like the 5 plans we prepared, which collapsed when NMS came to an end. The policy that is currently sitting at the Assembly, it could not move beyond the comments that were given by the residents. It requires that you have to put in more money in order to do a more detailed public participation process. The law requires, the county government act requires that the executive makes the proposal in terms of funding of preparation of plans, Janet. And I really want you to listen to this carefully. Once you make that proposal, you have to submit it to the county assembly. The county assembly have powers either to approve or to reject or to vary, to amend. And once they do that, there is nothing you can do as a technical person. They invite you, you'll explain to them that, this is very important. For example, for Kilimani, there's a lot of outcry by the residents. They need this law in place, so kindly we need this 50 million or 30 million, for example, to prepare the plan. But in their own discussion and their own wisdom, the funds may be moved and reallocated to other programs. For example, building of classrooms or buying medicine. And there's nothing we can do about it. And that's one of the challenges of a democracy in terms of regulating of development control. So, Janet, I must repeat by saying that it is not that it is if. Because that's the issue of the promises I've made, but it's a requirement in law. And actually, somebody can go to court, and there are people who have gone to court to compel county governments to put in place certain legal provisions in terms of land use. I have a record of past efforts that we've put in place to try and have these frameworks. Because in the absent city, it leaves the department at risk, because then you have developments that people go to court to challenge. You have to come forward and explain how was this approved. It is hard pressing sometimes to justify those technical provisions. So the best thing is to need to have a framework in place, and that's an effort we are really trying to put into place. And that goes together, Dennis, with drainage. That drainage must be provided within a program, and that program is within a plan. Yes, from 1963, there has not been significant expansion of the drainage system of the city of Nairobi, but the population has grown beyond the 200,000 people who were in the city then, and mainly were colonialists. But you will also see that the area that is most affected with drainage is the area which was set aside for the settlement of the black population. This has to be within these plans that we are talking about. But beyond the plans, even that drainage, expansion, it will be a facade. So you not be connecting, the areas. But the other thing I need to say, Janet, the cities do not flood because there are no drainage systems. Cities flood because of poor drainage systems. But even when they're in place, how do you use them? Drainage systems are not for dumping, illegal dumping of waste. Drainage systems are not for construction of kiosks. Drainage systems are not for, all these things we do in the city, informal, activities. And authorities, of course, the next question you're asking me, why do you allow them? It's done, but you still find political pressure trying to allow, those illegal settlements. So I think even where we've embarked on system improvement, like in Kileleshwa, I'll be inviting you to check your local neighborhood next time you'll be there. We are recarpeting the roads. City said that some of you, the two of you, stay in that area of the city. After Kileleshwa, we'll be going to Kilimani. They'll be recarpeting on the roads, Dennis and City. But I think when you wake up on Sunday morning, that green paper bag of garbage having been dumped on some roads on a road in Kileleshwa is not really welcoming to the county government of the city.
The thing that I think...
But for excavation, City, as I conclude, for excavation sites, which is one of the complaints, by the private developers, excavation is a technical area, Dennis. It is defined in the building code, how to excavate within your beacons. The areas where you're allowed to excavate, beacon to beacon. The areas where you're allowed to excavate, beacon to beacon, but you have an engineering intervention to make sure you protect the structure of your neighbor. But what you're having is that we're having people who have no technical competence going to sites, trying to, to appear to like they can be the ones to guide contractors or developers. That's where the confusion is coming in. So I think this development control policy is going to really be very explicit. We are going to break down the nitty-gritty so that even neighbors can get to know city. Yeah.
Our assembly
yes.
Are not well informed about these things, and yet they make decisions that are life-changing. Nairobi, as it exists as a county, will continue having these problems until the day we create those boroughs that we were supposed to create and make them autonomous. Because those units will then be able... There's a rationality to how they will function. We outgrew this model that we are now using a long time ago, just given the population of this particular city. How do you expect to manage God knows how many millions of people with the current structure that we have?
The current system obviously is not efficient in managing, and things are even likely to get more challenging because it's projected by 2030 the population will hit about 9 million. And that's why for us, from where we sit, we are really advocating for a borough system of management where you have a manager who has autonomy in terms of making certain decisions, of course, with a very strong public participation mechanism. So that we will not be having these cases where we submit plans to county assemblies, they are rejected, we receive the beating from members of the public who, in their opinion, think that we are not doing what is provided for in law.
Yeah, and we're running short of time, but Patrick Analo, I've just been requested here to tell you that perhaps when you go back to your office and you talk about planning, clubs in residential areas remains being a problem for many. And here as well, someone just texted from around, I think it's Gitanga Road, there is a dump site that is actually called Dandora. Along Gitanga Road that needs to be addressed because it is not only affecting on the quality of health, but the road that the taxpayers have spent, the county government has spent into repairing that road, that dump site is destroying the very same road. So there is nothing much that the county is doing when it comes to repairing this road. And also when you talk about clubs in residential areas, people have right to.
Yes, so can I respond to that very quickly? Yes, Janet?
No, I was just going to say.
So for the clubs, 10
seconds.
10 seconds. For the clubs, we have a new policy, alcoholic and alcoholic and attendant facilities regulated policy. We've put in our comments as a planning department that we must set distances from residential areas, from educational facilities. That one's passed. We are going to enforce. As concerns the dump site on Gitanga Road, you said it's called Dandora. Or be passing those, those complaints to my colleagues in Environment Department.
Patrick Canalo from the Nairobi County Department, Planning Department. Thank you very much, Janet Muga.
Thank you.
Thank you, CT, Dennis. Shout out to Ndu. I hope she gets better. And to Eric, this is one of the best shows in the country. So I'm really honored to have been part of it. Hope to be back soon. Thank you all.
CT, bye-bye for now. We meet up tomorrow in the morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, this is the Newswire.